What do you
Alright,
mean?
so we'll go through
One
week
pocket.
of May 6. Yeah, so this quiz has got there's a three-bet pot on the 10-6-2 rainbow.
Mm-hmm.
It's either big blind versus cutoff or it's small blind versus button. So
Oh,
it's a,
okay.
it's a mix of the two. And we're
All
going to
right.
look at the differences between those two. Um, and yeah, okay. All right, so cutoff opens to 2, hero 3 bets to 13. All right, we might pull up the ranges as well.
I'm
Just so you
here,
guys can
by the
have a
way.
look. Hello.
I have the ranges open. Kind of like what I do during the quizzes when I'm doing, just to
To
make
be
sure I know them.
blind says button versus cutoff. Is this the one that we're using? Yeah, it's got to be this one, right? This is the one. That's the cutoff. So this is the button 3-bet range. So the big blind 3-bet range against the cutoff, and then against the 3-bet. This would be large cutoff versus big blind. Here at 13.25, so this would be roughly to 13. This is what the calling range looks like. So a little bit of calling aces, ace king offsuit, ace queen offsuit. These pocket pairs, but you can see it's fairly heavy in ace queen, that kind of stuff. Anyway, so
A lot of
there's
the
the
aces,
ranges
a lot of
there.
the kings.
Yeah, I mean, there's
A
a
lot
lot
of
of
queens. Yeah,
offsuit
yeah. I have it
stuff.
open. I have it open in Munker.
All right, so on this flop, 10-6-2 rainbow, hero checks. So we're in the big blind. Villain, who is in the cutoff in position, bets 1/4 of the pot, and now hero wants to decide what to do. Whether to fold, call, raise, or raise a call.
So I remember from a previous quiz, like what this quarter pot sort of is, and the reason, and to my knowledge, like the reason for it is that we have a very polar 3-bet range from the big blind here, right? So I'm just gonna look at it. So like it has like ace queen, ace king, jacks plus, yeah, ace queen plus, jacks plus, and then it also has like the like garbage basically, like jack nine suit, not garbage, but like jack nine suited, 10-9 suited, queen 9 suited, and like mixed frequencies of like different suited connectors and suited, like weak suited jacks, like jack 8, jack 7, 10-7, queen 7 suited, queen 8 suited. Like you're very polar when you're doing this. So the quarter pot bet is to make us fold the garbage, and we're gonna raise pretty aggressively.
Yep.
That
Good.
said, right? This is from like a different quiz, but I'm pretty sure it's true. So with that said, and none of these are like slam dunks. None of these are like super strong hands that are like really. So if I had to give my intuition though, ace queen seems very hard to defend.
Why is that?
Like you've got, like, yeah, sure, you got this like little backdoor straight, but like what I guess my friends and I would call like a gut shot backdoor. Like you need to hit king jack, and without a backdoor flush, you have overs. It's hard to imagine. So other than six outs though, it's very hard to imagine cards that you can continue on. But save that for later.
Well, I might be wrong on this, but I know like blind versus blind, like in a single raise pot scenario, like in response to an imposition bet, like raising pretty aggressively, like on this board with the heart, like on a rainbow, an offsuit card because you unblock like all the backdoor trash that they'll be betting. At least that was my interpretation of what.
I think because of
Maybe
the shallower SPR, that's going to change.
that very well could be. I'm just taking a stab.
Yeah.
But also we would be check raising a lot of like queens and jacks, so maybe like queen jack makes more sense to check raise.
Yeah, I think that actually King Jack, because of the backdoor flush, is going to prefer the check raise more. But like,
Yeah,
I
that's
think
fair.
Queen Jack could also check raise. So yeah, King Jack probably will check raise. Like backdoor flush, backdoor straight, like that often makes it into the check raise and the double overs.
Yep.
And okay.
All right, so the two overs with the back doors makes for a fairly good raise. Actually makes for a better raise than this one. This is just the gut shot. Besides the gut shot, it doesn't actually have that much equity against a one pair hand, like top pair. Right, which is the main hand that you actually want to have equity against.
Yeah.
So yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So you want to have like equity against the 10. With the backdoor flush, do you really want to fold 9-8 suited though? Against a quarter pot bet?
Well, you're probably not going to fold it even 9-8 suited.
Yeah, so
I'd probably just call that.
probably call.
Good. Yeah,
All right,
so like
and like
it's a quarter pot bet. I mean, it's not nice to be out of position, but because your odds are so good, you can just float out of position with your 9 high and backdoor flush draw, and gut shot, right? And you're gonna have enough turn river combinations. You got what 10% chance of hitting on the turn, and another 10% chance of hitting the river, roughly. So it's not too bad.
it's less than 10, but it's fine. All right. If I have to continue one, I want to continue Queen Jack because like at least I can imagine the turn cards that come that I can continue on. Whereas Ace Queen, like so much of the deck comes, you're just all right, fold. Whereas Queen Jack, like you can continue on King, 9, Queen or a Jack, obviously. Yeah, so the Queen Jack has like King 9. Yeah.
Good. All right. So one of the big thing with the Ace Queen is that you've got a lot of Ace King. So in terms of needing to have a strong ace in your range, you've already done that pretty well with Ace King. So you don't actually need that with Ace Queen. And in terms of your other Queen X, well, if you're already continuing with Queen Jack, that's probably enough Queen X to continue on that particular rank. You've got a lot of course, Ace Queen suited as well. And it's not like all the Ace Queen offsuit folds are just the ones that have the heart, which end up, I think, blocking some bluffs. Alright. To go back to flush draw, it's in terms of the Queen X, and the Ace X. I mean, it's fairly subtle, but the combinations with a heart in them will bet slightly more often. So they're slightly bluffing. They're bluffing slightly more if they've got hearts. So if you've got a heart, you end up blocking some of those bluffs. I mean, it's very it's kind of splitting hairs there. I mean, most of the Ace Queen offsuit can probably continue and have 0 EV to doing it, and they could choose to continue either way. But for this particular question, let's just fold the Ace Queen offsuit, realizing that it's worse than all of these hands in this particular spot. you definitely shouldn't be continuing with all your ace queen offsuit here because you've got all your ace king offsuit instead, right? And that'll cover your ace and king ranks, and your queen ranks are covered reasonably well with queen jack.
So is your king rate covered not by other? So like
Well, you don't really need to cover your king rank if you've got ace king. So like the ace rank is covered by ace king, the king rank is covered by ace king, the queen rank is covered by a little bit of ace queen suited and a little bit of queen jack. So you don't really need ace queen offsuit.
Okay. Yeah, it makes sense.
Alright, so this line here. So same line as before, we check and now we call the bet. We get the ace of diamonds turned, we donk half pot, they call, and now we're in the river. So this is a line you guys take fairly often, I assume.
Not. I mean, I've gotten a little bit more comfortable because I have been 3-betting very large from the big line, so a little bit more comfortable. So like we just saw that we have a lot of ace king and ace queen suited in our range, so it's not like the ace is that bad for us.
Yeah, the ace is actually really good for you. That's why we've got this donking range here.
Yeah, and then like I'm just looking at the the big blind's calling the cutoff's calling range. It's got like it's got no ace king in it. Just like a lot of ace five suited. Still like ace five suited and like ace nine through ace queen suited, and then like a lot of the suited tens. So like that's the majority of like what we need to worry about for him.
Well, there's ace king offsuit. But in terms of ace king offsuit, that probably doesn't bet the flop and then call. Doesn't bet the flop super often. I mean, it compared to, you know, like in terms of all the ace highs in the cutoffs preflop range, they don't bet the flop super often compared to other kinds of hands. So the ace definitely is going to favour you, right? We're going to be calling a lot of. Here's going to be calling a lot of ace x, and so that's why we're donking this turn.
All right, so I'm pretty sure 9-8 can donk the turn. It gets improved on. It's like a reasonably good bluff on the ace. Ace queen can obviously donk the turn because I mean the whole point of being able to donk is being able to donk with your strong hands or with your hands that want to donk, and ace queen is one of those. Just between 10s and 7-6 for me for what's not in the range. Someone else wants to help out there.
Yeah, I'm really.
Yeah, donk tens here.
I don't see a particular issue with donking tens, but I mean, I guess in the sense that like you'd want to play it like you had a 10.
Yeah, good.
Yeah, you wouldn't be donking turn. So
yeah, so you're not going to be donking too many 10x here on the turn. So this is not within range.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, that makes sense. It's like okay, like how we play a lot of rivers. Okay, what to do on the river?
Yeah, with the 7-6 and the 9-8, I'm really not sure. I mean, obviously the 9-8 blocks flush draws, but
Do you like to just bet jam ace queen? Would you like to better? Yeah. Or. Okay, I'm gonna quickly look at the cutoff's range. So he would. So he's got ace nine through ace queen.
Thomas, on the other question, we were talking about ace queen off with the heart. Well, did you say with the heart blocked more bluffs, so it was like a worse candidate to bluff catch with?
Yeah, but definitely if you got a backdoor flush draw, you're going to be calling.
Right. Well, yeah. No, I'm just kind of thinking through several things.
I mean,
Yeah, give me a
it's
second. I'm just gonna
it's
look
a
at.
small thing, but
Yeah, no, I mean, I think that's a standard float for sure.
I'm just need to look at the cutoff's range. 1 sec while it loads.
this is with cutoff range, yeah. So you got all these pocket pairs, most of the connectors, ace queen, ace king, ace king offsuit, ace queen offsuit, aces. Alright.
All right. Yeah. He doesn't have any. Okay. He has very few nines and eight. Very few eights. Some nines. Let's look at sevens and sixes. Okay, like no sixes. And what was the frequency of sevens?
Well, we're going to assume this range here, right?
Sorry?
Let's assume this range here.
Yeah, that's what I'm doing.
So, I mean, he's definitely got the set of sixes.
He's got definitely. So, like villain has
Yeah.
7-6 suited. Yeah.
Always got to have 7-6, 6-5 pocket sixes.
Yeah, but those are just low frequency. So in I don't think 9-8 blocks enough to warrant a bluff.
Well, you got to think about hands you unblock. That will fold.
So you unblock all the king, like the king, queen, like all the. Okay, what are we trying to get him to fold? We're trying to get him to fold 10.
Or a 6. Or
10
like
or a 6, right?
like pocket eights.
Okay, if that's the case, his 10s are primarily Jack, Queen, King, 10 suited. Like no way is he folding ace 10 or 10. So
wait, he has 10-9 suited, right? Or does he?
no, he doesn't.
Okay, so the nine's not as relevant, I guess, but it does block pocket nines and pocket eights.
So the 9 doesn't block a fold. Okay. Okay, and you think he might fold 9s or 8s? Yeah, he might fold 9s or 8s.
I mean, yeah, might fold.
And you block those.
It's probably indifferent, but probably a fold on that.
Yeah, so you block. So I feel like based on what he said, it's not that. The only like hand that's actually of interest is like ace 9 suited, which will probably call you. That's the only hand that 9-8 really blocks. That's the most relevant 9-8 block.
Yeah,
ace 9 suited.
Yeah.
Blocks ace 9 suited. But like that's only one hand and one combo, and I feel a little risky putting a lot of weight. Like,
How does 9-8 block ace 9 suited? I can't see it.
oh, it doesn't at all.
Yeah.
So yeah, you're right. Okay, so 9-8 suited does not block a call in ace 9 suited. It blocks the folds of 9s and 8s.
I mean, it seems
doesn't-
like blocking pocket sixes seems pretty good. Like if we had a choice between 9-8 and 7-6.
Yeah, okay, so 9-8 blocks 9s and 8s which fold. Right?
Yeah,
And then
if they
it
get to the
blocks,
river
like let's say
with
he has 8-7 of diamonds, right? That also folds.
yeah.
So 9-8 blocks the folds. When you block folds, you don't want to block it.
Don't 9s and 8s fold here.
Don't what?
Don't 9s and 8s fold here on the turn.
It might.
The pocket 9s and the pocket 8s here on the turn, they'd fold.
Hmm.
So
9-8 blocks nothing.
You're not so worried about that. Yeah, so 9-8 doesn't block anything, and what do we know about bluffs that usually what do bluffs do that they don't block anything? So what do hands do when they don't bluff anything? They usually just bluff, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because the idea is you want to be blocking, you want to try to block calls. When you can't do that, you want to try and unblock folds. Or you'd actually prefer to unblock folds more than actually blocking calls, because all of your EV from making a bluff comes from those hands that fold, right? So if you even in some small way block folds, it actually becomes really bad for you. So when you're thinking about choosing which hands to bluff, pick ones that don't block folds. That's the main thing, right? Blocking value actually is secondary to unblocking folds the vast majority of the time. Right, so here this is always bad.
Yeah, I thought the criteria was when you're bluffing really small, you want to unblock the folds, and when you're bluffing really big, you want to block the calls.
Yeah, I mean there's usually when you have multiple
Bet sizes.
bet sizes, yeah.
Okay.
But
Yeah,
here
okay.
really is going to have one bet size. Is going to be all in. All right.
So I'm guessing 7-6 is going to check. Hopefully, have him check back,
Good.
and then Ace Queen obviously better check. It can either bet for value or it can like check jam or check call the jam or whatever.
Yeah, I mean it's not really betting all in for value. The reason being is because you actually don't get called by worse enough. So it's really just blocking here for quarter pot. Right, and then calling off the jam sometimes. So when you get to the river like this in a polar line, don't be afraid to block the river when you're unsure about the strength of your hand, or at least you're not sure that you are totally crushing your opponent. And this is definitely not the case here. Ace Queen is definitely not crushing compared to Ace King, right? Ace King you chop with your opponent's Ace King, but Ace Queen you chop your opponent's Ace Queen and you lose to their Ace King. So here if you jam, just chopping a lot or losing to Ace King. Alright. So it's not super nice. Compared to blocking, getting called by all those 10s. Right. It's a little bit better. Or even checking and then calling the all in. Right. Quarter pot's a bit weird. Half pot. Always calling there. Okay. What else was there? The 10s. I mean, that particular combo of 10s always checks a turn. Alright, having a diamond kind of helps. And the reason why having a diamond helps is because you're sometimes going to be betting a 10 with a diamond, or with slightly higher frequency. Alright. Yeah. All right, next one. All right, slightly different line, the same run out.
So this is like a 3/4 pot lead, huh? Or not? Well, like continuation bet.
Yeah, so here we see it 75% here. So villain calls, go to turn, we bet a quarter pot, they call, now we're on the river. Alright, there's like 50 lines behind, there's 100 lines in the middle. So what do we do?
So we bet quarter pot on the turn.
Yeah.
Yeah. Probably with like we're already polar from the flop, I think, and then like the ace helps a lot of our bluffs. So
Yeah.
that's why we do that. Can someone explain to me the difference between queens and jacks?
Blocking Jack 10. Probably. Wait, I forgot what the imposition range was.
He has queen 10 and jack 10 at the same frequency.
Oh, okay.
And queen. Oh, he has more. So villain's gonna 4-bet all of his queens, but not all of his jacks. So queens will beat the jacks, and jacks chops jacks. That's the only difference I see. I can't imagine the suits pay any importance. So queens and jacks are stronger than ace 10 in a meaningful way.
Are we going to be betting this big on flop with ace 6?
It's a very good question.
Yeah, well, I mean, we're not going to have a small size, so it's just a question of whether we better check with ace. I mean,
We definitely have a smaller size than the 3/4 pot.
do we?
We definitely have half pot. We definitely have a
Well, yeah.
like I don't know if we have like the quarter pot or whatever, but we definitely have a half pot. So ace 6, like if it's very polarized, it might be going in like a more polarized line as like a 5-out draw. Is a like a possibility. Is like
I'd probably bet queens on the river because you can probably get called by jacks sometimes. That might be the difference between queens and jacks.
okay, so not in the range. Like what's not going to bet the turn? Why do I think it's king 10? Because you can get called by a 10 with queens and jacks.
Seems okay.
Like you're not going to bet quarter pot when you block the main hand you want to get called by when the ace comes.
Yeah.
Like the main hand you want to get called by is a 10.
Yeah, at first
Right.
glance, I agree with that assessment for sure.
All right.
Alright, sorry, there's a mistake in this question. Guess we'll just do this. What did we say for these ones again?
King Jack raise, Ace Queen fold. 9-8 call.
Um,
10's not within.
Alright, there you go. That answers your question about
Oh,
queens and jacks.
Ace Queen, not queens and jacks.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yep.
In that case, yeah, Ace Queen is a easy donk. Ace 6 would be a donk. In between kings and jacks, King 10 and jacks.
I don't think it's not a donk line. It's just a c-bet line.
Not a donk. Yeah, like a. All right, so it's I think I maintain that I think A6 can be like your like 5-out draw type of thing when you're polarized. Ace Queen is like can obviously do 3/4 bet on the flop. It's like a 6-out draw plus the back doors, and then Jacks is going to do it for value, and then the ace comes, and it's good for your range, but it's not good for your particular hand.
Mm-hmm.
And then King 10 as well, right? Like the only thing is like King 10 loses to Jacks, which probably calls. Whereas Jacks beats all the 10s that probably call. So I'd rather donk Jacks, get called by a 10, than donk King 10, block the 10s and get called by Jacks. Although the only thing that's making me question is like when Thomas changed the queens and the jacks, the queens to ace queen, to like should have been a signal that jacks is not within, because now there's not two hands that are the same.
Yeah, okay. You guys, I mean, ace queen is pretty strong, but don't in throw pots you shouldn't really be overvaluing ace queen. So someone's in range here. All right. This particular combination doesn't dock the turn. In fact, not a lot of your ace queen donks a turn. So,
Can I ask a question? Or isn't the whole point of ace the ace being good for our range that we have a lot of aces, then now we can bet them?
well, you can bet ace king,
Okay.
right? And then you got to use your other aces to protect the checking range. And ace queen's a pretty good candidate for that. Right, so think about all the aces that would have bet the flop. Do you really want to bet your offsuit aces? Not really, because they don't have much going for them. Okay, that's why you're betting ace 6. Right, because ace 6 is actually the only ace that you've got that's got something going for it, other than like the ace queen, ace jack kind of stuff. So when the ace comes, it is pretty nice for you. It's pretty nice for your bluffs. A lot of your bluffs have now improved. Okay. Mm-hmm. But you still want to have a checking range, and then that checking range needs some protection. Okay, so if it needs some protection, you've got to choose which hands you want to put at the top of your checking range. Okay, and ace queen is probably one of the best candidates because it will fairly comfortably call down. Right, because your opponent's going to be value betting ace queen themselves.
Okay, so Now that we have that
we
sort
can,
of.
or we can go for the check jam here on the turn, which is another option which you guys haven't talked about yet.
Okay. So he has more ace king off than we typically assume. Like he's got half the combos of ace king off, and he also has ace 10 suited. So keep that in mind. And then he has jacks and ace jack, which are relevant, and he has like nothing 6 of relevance. So if we check, villain's going to bet all his aces.
Yeah.
Or like almost, right? So if we have ace 6, that's nice, but block the ace.
Which hands are they going to check back?
A lot of 10s.
And what else?
6x. So,
7, 6, 6, 5. Pocket
yeah.
8s, pocket 9s, pocket 7s,
So,
pocket jacks.
yeah. So a6 would be a check.
Good. So you want to check that because I snap check back 7, 6, 6, 5.
So I'm more happy to bet the jacks because then you can get called by a 10. Like betting ace jack is risky. Betting jacks is like.
Here the bet size isn't.
It's not to jam 50 big blinds, half pot.
No, you can bet smaller than that.
Yeah, maybe I need to start doing that then. If I'm not. Yeah, so maybe jacks bets like 20% pot or something.
Yeah.
To get value from a 10 that would check back.
Excellent.
And then, yeah.
Yeah,
like to get like really not really thin, but like thin value from a 10, right?
Yeah.
And then obviously king 10 check or bet.
Yeah, king 10 can go the same way.
Can maybe king 10 can get called by like queen 10 or something, or jack 10.
Yeah.
Betting a quarter pot on the river here.
Yeah, so your betting range is for quarter pot, even though there's only half pot behind.
When you check, what happens to the?
You just bet everything.
Yeah. Like 50% rule doesn't apply because SPR is so shallow.
Yep. I mean, you can calculate what do you think the rule will be from the SPR.
Sorry.
You can calculate what the rule will be from the SPR.
Oh yeah.
So, the rule will just be alpha of the bet. So here, it's a half pot bet. Alpha is going to be a third. So the rule is going to be 1 minus alpha. All right. So 66% rule. It's roughly that there. So basically all you need to do is to check that 2 pair and that will keep them in check. All right, this ace 6, a little bit of the ace king, and then they'll stop them from betting their entire range. Okay. He bet quarter pot, you get a raise more than half the time, which is kind of what you expect when the raise is actually super tiny. Right, but it's a block because here you're blocking, you're trying to get called by worse, and then all these top pairs and stronger will bet if you check. All right, with the exception of jacks there. So when you've got jacks, you can bet half pot, right? All the top pair will go all in anyway, okay, and then you're indifferent. Or if you check, all the top pair will go all in anyway, right? And then jacks will actually have to call because your opponent is going to be betting jack sometimes. All right, so you beat some of that value. All right, which is not super nice, but here, if you bet yourself, right, all the hands that are stronger than you will raise all in, but you actually get some value from weaker hands. All right, so you can do weird stuff like that in 3-bet pots, where you've got like half a pot bet less behind and only bet quarter pot.
Yeah.
And it works pretty well when you're out of position.
Yeah, I think it's like something I think it's something that would like easily separate good players from like really good, like really strong players from
Yeah, I mean,
really okay players.
people tend to
be able
spaz
to do
out.
that.
People tend to spaz out when you do it.
Yeah.
I just got no idea what the fuck's going on. Because it just doesn't make sense. Why would you only leave? You're leaving 25 big blinds behind in like a 200 big blind pot. Okay, so next one. So bet call, half pot, check, quarter pot bet. All right, and we've got these hands deciding whether or not to raise. Call or fold.
So we bet half pot on the flop. The half pot bet on the flop is still more polar than you might expect from a half pot bet, I think.
I don't think King Jack obviously would be in range. We'd probably continue betting that on the turn. But just fold Ace King and
Queen Jack.
Queen Jack not in range.
Is there a particular reason why you want this Queen Jack compared to a different Queen Jack?
we have a club in our hand, so
So do you want to bet the club or you want to check the club here?
bet it.
Why is that?
I think you don't want to bet this Queen Jack because like you'd want to get called by flush draws.
When you're a Queen Jack, you want to get called by a flush draw. Which hand?
want him to fold.
Which hand with a jack in it? Which flush draw with a jack in it do you want to call? To have call you?
None of them because all his jacks beat you.
Yeah, because they'll beat you, right? So having this jack blocks the calls that beat you. So yeah, it makes for a pretty good bet here on the turn. All right, compared to not having the jack. Right, if you bet it, you end up just getting called by a stronger hand that's also a flush draw. All right, so checking with the intention of like going for a check jam. Or just a check call with without a club is probably the better idea. So this is not within range. And now the other three against this quarter pot bet. What are we thinking?
You're not folding 7-6 or King 10, so you're folding Ace King.
Good.
And then I really like jamming 7-6.
Why do you like jamming 7-6?
Sorry, calling 7-6.
You want to call 7-6? All right. Why won't you jam 7-6?
I'd rather jam 7-6 we can get folded from like pair of nines, eights, sevens, and maybe some weaker 10.
I don't think that's enough because he's not going to be that 9x heavy. So villain's nines are king, so no king 9, a little bit of ace 9 suited, and some nines. That's all his nines.
Yeah, but we have redraw or draws to a flush and a straight, so if he does have a 9 and calls,
So like if you jam 7-6, right? Just the value of a 7-6, like he's only gonna call you better, right? And he's gonna fold out like his worst stuff. So I think you want to call 7-6 And then there's all sorts of hands that, like, there's all sorts of rivers that improves you, right? So like an 8 gives you like near nuts, a club near nuts, 6.
So you'd rather raise king 10?
Yeah, I'd rather jam king. I'd rather raise king 10. Because like king 10 is like very vulnerable, right? Still ahead. Wait, if you're raising, let's just see, 53 big blind. So there's like 75 big left, 75 left, 15. You don't even need to jam it necessarily. Could you go to like 40? 30, 35 left. Nah, you're probably jamming.
You could go to 40 and leave
30 left.
30 left, yeah. Nothing wrong with that.
All right. Yeah. So from the last lesson, yeah, don't fold your flush draws in a way, like if you don't have to, and like if you're gonna jam a flush draw, I'd much rather it be like let's look at the range quickly. Yeah, if you're gonna jam a flush draw as the big blind, something like be that. Okay, if you're gonna jam a flush draw, I'd rather it be like a flush draw with 2 overs. Like if he calls with a 10, like you've got a lot more out. Like you've got those outs. But like 7-6 is like okay, if you're gonna jam a flush draw, I'd rather it be like ace queen suited or king jack suited. King jack suited is like pretty similar to 7-6. Or ace like king 3 king 3 suited. Yeah, okay. Here's my if you're gonna like the flush draws that you're gonna raise, I'd rather them be like the things that got kind of nothing else going for them, like Jack 3, King 3 suited, like those ones, or like Ace 5 suited. Like if you have when you have Ace 5 of clubs, right? Or sorry, Ace 5 of clubs.
Well, they can just bet here.
All the like one high, one low, basically.
All your flush draws that don't have anything else going for them, just bet here.
Yeah.
Right, like the check jam. You're going to be check jamming with the flush draws that just don't beat any of the bluffs at showdown, right? So like if you got King Jack, okay, the King Jack of clubs, right? You're still behind his ace high that could be bluffing you here. So you don't want to just call that and then get the showdown and lose against ace high. That's not very nice. 7-6 on the other hand, you're beating the ace high. So like if you just you call and then it goes check, and on the river you're winning against ace high. That's pretty nice for you. There's no real need to jam that now because you don't really need to get ace high to fold. On the other hand, if you've got the King Jack of clubs, you really want you really want ace high to fold, right? Because you don't want to be putting your hand into the calling line and then have it go check on the river. Okay, 7-6, like you actually don't mind if you call and then like a brick comes and it goes check on the river because you actually win a good chunk of the time when that happens. Okay, so here calling 7-6 is actually strictly better than raising it. This is against that 7-6 here. Look at the EV difference. Calling 7-6, 26.3. Jamming 7-6 is 25.9. Right, so it's about half a big blind difference between jamming and calling, and raising to a different size and calling, it's about 1 big blind difference. All right, if you call the flush draws that jam, it's going to be flush draws with nothing else really going for it. Okay.
Which ones?
So you've got here the king queen, king jack,
Yeah.
queen 8, jack 7, right? The other ones, so that's, you got 2 overcards, gut shot,
Mm-hmm.
flush draw, right? Loses to ace high. On the other hand, when you've got a really, really strong draw like the jack 8, so you open it as straight flush draw. That's so strong. Like you call a third of the deck is good for
Hitting
you.
you.
For example, a 7, and then like you just snap off the river because you actually don't end up blocking any of his bets. Okay. Right. Or like a flush. Alright, so that's the deck there. And even like a jack. Right. Oh, that particular jack always folds. So yeah, that's so strong that you want to just call there. But yeah, there's a lot of check jamming. Okay, so don't be afraid to go for like a C bet and then check jam the turn, or check call and then check jam the turn, right? So definitely don't be afraid to take lines like this, because
I have a
it's going to happen
question.
quite often. Sure.
How do you know? So, from like the 3-bit pots video, like, okay, especially when you're super polarized, like we are in this scenario, from the big blind versus the cutoff. How do you know when you want to like smoothly get it like to? How do you know when you want to like use the formula like based on the bet size? So like SPR on the flop here is what's the flop? It's 26.5 big blinds, and you've got 80 7 behind. So you have SPR of like 3 and a bit. It's like when do you decide to just go half half, and when do you like geometrically, and when do you decide to like start like getting a little more fancy?
Yeah, I mean, so the geometric size like here would be half 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 or something like that.
Yeah.
That's going to be, well, it would be actually you want to bet slightly more.
Yeah,
Earlier
it's
streets.
like 56, 57%, whatever.
Anyway, like geometric or slightly more than geometric on earlier streets, and then having a down and then downsizing on later streets, which ends up being slightly better than geometric. That should be that should be
Because of
the
the
bulk of your strategy, right? Going big early and then sizing down
yeah.
later, right? So you have this tapering bet size, which ends up being more than geometric on the flop, and then less than geometric on the river, and then roughly geometric in the middle on the turn. So that should,
And the reason for that is
that should be the bulk of your strategy,
okay.
right?
And the reason for that, the reason for going earlier on the earlier bigger on the earlier streets is because like he has some equity.
Yeah, it's because
Right.
both players still have equity. Your bluffs still have equity, and so you want to be betting them slightly bigger on the earlier streets.
Yeah.
So that should be the bulk of it, and then like you're always going to, because you're out of position, you're always going to have a checking range that you want to protect. Unlike when you're in position, like you don't really need to protect your check back range, because the deck will do that for you. So you're always going to have the decision with your strong hands to either bet, right, which should happen the majority of the time, or check to protect that checking range. Okay, because a lot of the checking range on the flop and the turn are just going to be give ups. All right, and so you want to have a protected checking range, because those give ups will still have a little bit of equity against your opponent, because a good chunk of the time, from pre-flop, you're going to raise with a single high card, like an offsuit ace high, offsuit king high, and so that ace or that king, even though it's only 3 outs, is some equity that you want to protect. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
You want it to check, and then you make your ace or your king, making your top pair, and then you win it by getting the showdown that way. And your opponent wants to try and prevent that from happening, right? So your opponent's going to be trying to bet into you, right? Betting into your polar range to deny, in the truest sense of the word, equity from those draws. All right.
Yep.
So the main reason why your opponent is betting into you is not to get value, right? It's purely
it's
to deny
to
equity
screw
from
over
your very weak hands.
to screw over your like 3-out draws and stuff.
Yeah, so like here, if you look on the flop and check and then like bet quarter pot, you're folding 40% of the time, right? Which is huge, way more than alpha. Alpha against quarter pot bet is only 20%, so you're folding twice as much as you really should have. And the reason why that's the case is because your opponent's bluffs have a lot of checkback EV, right? That they have to sacrifice. Okay.
Yeah.
And so they're going to be betting quite small into you. Here, this is the quarter pot size being used fairly often. And if I ran it with 20%, I might use 20%. If I ran it with 10%, I probably wouldn't use 10%. But definitely use something like quarter pot, right? And then look how you're continuing. You're folding a lot. You're raising a lot. Okay. So like with your strong hands, and this is a good board to illustrate it. Right, your strong hands from pre-flop were those overpairs, the jacks plus, and it's the same here, right? So here you've got jacks plus, and which is the overpairs, which represent there you go, 20% of your range, right? And you got the set, which is about 1%. So roughly you got 20% of your range here, which is value, right, against your opponent. And then you've got a bunch of other stuff, right? Some top pairs which have been made from pre-flop hitting the flop. Okay, those might also be considered value. There you got the king 10. And then there's just a bunch of draws, right? Ace king, ace queen, other ace highs, right? This is ace king, right? It's got 6 outs. It needs to protect that 6 outs somehow. And the suited versions have even more equity, right? 6 outs plus the 4% from the backdoor flush draw. 4%? It's about right.
4%.
Yeah, there you go. It's 3% roughly. In extra equity from the backdoor flush draw as well, right? So like all that equity needs to be protected. And so when you've got a strong hand like your overpair, you've got the decision to either bet it yourself or to check and then protect that checking range and then do something with a hand when your opponent bets into you. All right. So like here, you've bet, and now on the turn, the same kind of thing is going on, right? You've got these other pairs, and you've got some bluffs, and those bluffs are usually just going to be 2 overcard type hands, right? They want to see the river. Okay, those 2 overcard hands will still have either 3 or 6 outs against your opponent or your opponent's hand, and so your opponent's going to want to try and deny that somehow. They're going to deny that by betting quite small into you. The reason why they're betting small is because your checking range is actually fairly polar. It's got a lot of junk, but it's also got some strong hands they'll just check jam or check raise, right? And so they're betting small to try and just deny a little bit of equity from that vast swath of junk that you have in your range, right? Just trying to get that to fold out or at least pay to see the river, right? Depending on how strong it is.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, this makes a lot of sense. It's actually really helpful, like having these ideas. Yeah. And
the solver sees pre-flop that having this polar range and then having to protect the checking, having to use those strong hands to protect the checking range ends up being more profitable than having a merge range with a smaller 3-bet size pre-flop. Okay. So like here in the big blind, you've got the option to decide which size you want to raise to. And the solver sees, okay, well, if I raise a 13, right, I get them to call a fair amount. And then on the flop, they're going to have to bet into me a lot. Right, so when I've got aces, I'm going to raise to 13 and then check the flop because they're going to have to bet into me because I've got a bunch of bluffs from pre-flop. They now still have equity on the flop. So then in that sense, you win the 13, but you also win the flop bet as well. Right.
Because you're going to check raise them?
Yeah, because then you're going to check raise them. But if you bet a bit smaller, well, with aces, you could just check call and check raise at later street or call down, whatever. You can do all the stuff with aces. But if you go smaller, right, you kind of you don't really have to have as many your range isn't as polar from pre-flop, and because it's not as polar on the flop, if you check, right, your opponent isn't quite as incentivized to bet into you, right? Because you don't have all those bluffs that will fold out, that need to fold out, right? All those worse hands. Okay, so then your opponent has to actually bet big into you. Like, it's not going to happen as often. So when you got a hand like aces, like, you actually end up winning more by raising here to 13 and then playing the flop appropriately. Okay, then raising to like 8, right, and then having to bet the flop yourself. Right, here if you raise to 13, then you can get your opponent to bet into you a lot of the time. But if you raise to 8, you're gonna have to bet the flop yourself, right? Otherwise, your opponent's not going to be. Otherwise, your opponent, even if they know what they're doing, will actually be checking back a lot, because they will see that, and I think we'll get into that in the last half of this quiz, because we're looking at small blind versus button, which the ranges are different. Small blind's a lot more merged. Okay. Anyway, so are we done with this question? I think so. All right. So next question. So this is the last one of big blind versus cutoff. All right. So this line is check down line with this run out, spectacular run out. What do you guys think? So this is the check down line.
Okay. So starting with not in range. So we already saw that something like ace king will often stab the flop. It obviously doesn't have to all the time. And then I think it makes quite a lot of sense to bet the turn ourselves with honestly quite a lot of hands. Queen, jack, king, queen, and ace king are all seem pretty similar. Well, ace king's different, but like king, queen, and queen, jack seem pretty similar.
All right. So which one's not within range? Any ideas? All right. So here on the turn, you got to think about what are you going to do on this particular turn card. So on the flop, if you got like an overpair.
Yeah,
right,
and then
you're checking that. We're trying to check raise, but villain checks back. Okay, now you're on the turn. The overpairs that you had on the flop, right? Disappointed that they didn't get bet into on the flop. Okay, but some of them are now going to be betting the turn. All right, so which ones are going to be betting the turn? Is aces going to bet the turn? No, because aces blocks your opponent's ace high, and so your opponent will be more likely to bet into you here. All right, so knowing that, you're going to be checking a hand like aces, and then you're going to be betting the other over pairs. So you're going to be betting jacks a lot, you're going to be betting queens a lot, you're going to be betting kings a lot.
Yeah, so either queen, jack, or king, queen should bet the turn.
Yep, sure. All right, so which one do you think is going to be bet all the time?
Queen, jack is like much happier to have stuff fold. I mean, they're both pretty happy to have stuff fold.
All right, so it's fairly important to block the hands that will always call. So obviously, if you can block a 10, that's nice. If your opponent decided to do a sneaky check back with his pocket jacks. The pocket jacks will always call as well. All right, and then you're going to unlock some hands that will fold. Right, maybe they'll fold. Actually, I mean, both Queen Jack and King Queen will block both of them fairly equally. So it's really just got to do with blocking some more of the 10x. All right, here on the flop, your opponent's going to be betting more often with a stronger 10x. Okay, so they're going to have slightly weaker 10x here on the turn. All right, and
like
so
the Jack 10 Queen Jack.
yeah, Jack 10 Queen Jack compared to
Jack 10 Queen 10. Sorry.
yeah.
As opposed to King.
As opposed to
ace?
the king, yeah. So like here with these two hands, you're comparing the king to the jack. All right, your opponent's going to be slightly more likely to be betting king 10 than jack 10 here on the flop, just because king 10 is stronger.
Is there any like credence to the fact that he has more king 10 than jack 10? Like he has all the king 10 suited, like both combos, whereas the queen 10 and jack 10, he's got less frequently.
Well, you're just thinking about the check back range. What the density of the hands are going to be in the check back range.
Like he's always going to bet his king 10, and like the ones that he might check
Yeah.
are like the jack 10. Okay, so
Yeah, so
yeah,
it's going to be checking. It's going to be betting the king 10 of much higher frequency than the jack 10, right? So those are the main two differences.
yeah, so queen
what
jack
else is there
is
that
going
you
to
can
not in
say?
range.
Another thing is that ace king will probably sometimes fold if you bet, right? So here, like you're going to be wanting to bet a fairly big size in order to set up the stacks appropriately for the river. So if he's got his ace king, which is definitely a hand that he could have when you've got queen jack, that will probably fold sometimes. All right, so blocking a little bit of folds here is even though they both block folds with ace queen, here the king queen. Well, it's nice as a bluff. It's not nice as a bluff all the time, right? Just the queen jack is just slightly better to be bluffing all the time here. All right, so it's not within range for that reason. Because it bets all the time here. King queen does bet sometimes, right? In fact, all these hands will probably bet sometimes here on the turn. Right, but it's really noticing that king queen jack will bet all the time. All right, so it's check, and now looking at between these three hands. All right, on this run out.
All right, let's think about this. So the main hands that villain will have, that'll like go check and are going to be like the ace jack, ace queen suited, ace 9 suited, and is like offsuit ace queen, ace king, right? So when that's the case, then we're going to want to bluff our king queen, check our ace king. Let's think about this. So I think it's wrong, but my initial thought was we're going to want to bluff our king queen, check our ace king. Like ace king is going to just go like, let's please check and win against just all his ace x. And then aces.
Is this on? Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. Oh, wait, I got it, guys. Aces blocks his checkbacks, so we're gonna check and then raise him. No one's got any tens. Like we're gonna check because it blocks his ace queen and ace jack checkbacks.
Okay, so if you check aces, does that mean you're going to bet ace king?
If we check aces,
Is this working?
Yep.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Oh, hey there.
Hey.
I'm not sure I can hear anyone else, so I hope I'm not talking over anyone. I actually think that the ace king, making the best ace high with the three with the trip tens, is good enough to check for showdown value, and the aces would. Um, I think the aces may bet. I think they have to bet so the other over pairs will call. And
So he only has jacks as
check
overpaired.
the. I guess we can bet the ace king and check the. Sorry, I'm confused. I want to check the ace king. I'm not. That's about it.
You want to check ace king? Yeah, I mean it's. You can do better than checking ace king. Here you're gonna bet ace king. Okay, so here you're gonna bet ace king. You're gonna block it.
For thin
Right?
value?
Yeah, like think about all the hands that he's got. That take this line. Okay, what hands are going to check back the turn? All right, it's going to be
Nine. Sure.
mostly ace high. I mean, sometimes it's going to be some traps with like the set of sixes, right? Because that'll block your checks here. But then there's some other stuff like nines, eights, sevens. But
Yeah.
in terms of the density and the range, ace king, there's going to be a lot of ace queen, right?
So you can bet like third pot with ace king.
Yeah, I mean, the pot's probably a bit big, but definitely smaller than that.
Like, I don't know, third pot's not huge. It's like 9 big blinds.
Yeah, I mean, the third pot's a bit big. You kind of want to get always called by ace queen.
Okay, so maybe like 20%.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. So like ace king always bets, right? Always bets for a small size. Okay. So knowing that ace king always bets, but like ace queen, on the other hand, isn't strong enough to bet for value. So ace king definitely is because it gets called by ace queen, but ace queen on the other hand isn't strong enough because it'll get called by ace king, right? And then lose. So ace queen isn't strong enough to bet for value, and all of the other aces also aren't strong enough to bet for value. So you're going to have this split between all your ace x, where basically you've got ace king, which bets for value, and then all your other ace x will check. All right.
Okay.
And so aces will want to do the same thing that your aces will do, right? Your ace x hands will do, right? Which is going to be bet or check, right? Because you got a lot of ace king betting, and then a lot of other ace x will check. So aces will do both.
I get it.
And then king queen just gives up.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, I mean, in terms of selecting hands to bluff,
Yes,
right, you want to, say for example, like you I don't know what's going on there. Say for example, you go 25%. Like, what hands are gonna fold, right? You just block a bunch of folds when you've got king queen, right? So it's not good to put into any size.
The G guy is.
Sorry, I'm gonna mute you. Yeah, I got no idea what's going on there. All right, that guy's muted. Okay. So king queen, it just blocks hands that fold. So bluffing it doesn't make any sense. If you want to bluff a hand like if you can do 9 high, 8 high, 7 high. Yeah, 7 high. But definitely 9 high and 8 high. Make a lot more sense because then you unblock him.
It's a fold as king queen.
Yeah, king queen, S9. That kind of stuff. You bet a tenth of the pot, right? Even if you bet a tenth of the pot, like you're unblocking king queen, right? So you can do that with 9-8.
Yeah.
Like credibly, but you can't do that with king queen credibly because you end up double blocking his folds, right?
Yeah, well, there's no point to do with king queen. You just block the hands. Like the whole point of betting king queen for like 10% was that he would fold a hand like king queen.
Yeah, well, when you check, is going to be betting king queen into you. So like your king queen yourself has no EV because every time you check, you lose. Every time you check, your opponent's going to be bluffing hands that are stronger than you, so you have to fold. Right.
Yep.
Okay, so that's the last of the big blind versus cutoff, and now we're going to transition into small blind versus button. Right, same flop, different ranges.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, different SPR. Okay.
So you're. Yeah.
So have a look at this one.
Okay, so.
There you go. Can I have a look at the ranges? So it'll be against 2.5. This will be button versus small blind. That's 14. So this will be small blind versus button. So this is the range here. Right, and then it'll be button versus small blind. That's the calling range here. Alright, so flop 24. Big blinds, 3/4 pot, half pot, and now on the river. So what do you guys think?
So I think what the small blind was doing was the classic, like, more than geometric, trying to jam the river as much of his range as he can.
Yeah, so any hands that are not within range.
Ten.
Why is tens not within range?
Because you're gonna want to like, what are you gonna do with all your tens on the turn? You're gonna check them.
Well, not necessarily. I mean, this turn card is really good for you, is it not? So here you look at the small blind range, right? And then recalling what we said about here, the merge range, right? It's because we have more merge pre-flop, and they've got a wider defending range from pre-flop. We're going to be betting the flop at a much higher frequency.
Yeah.
Okay. Like if, for example, like if you compare the EV of aces on the same flop, small blind versus button to the big blind versus cutoff, like aces has more EV over here, right? Despite the fact
He's
that
gonna bet
aces
into you more.
despite the fact that aces is checking more often. Yeah, because they're going to be betting into you more often.
Yeah.
Right, but here they're not going to really be. They're not really as incentivized to bet into you. So like you're going to have to bet yourself a lot in order to make your checking range that much weaker, right?
Repeat the.
Okay, so we're betting a lot here.
Yeah.
So because we're betting a lot, this is the range. Like it's got a lot of ace X in it. This ace becomes really good for you.
Yep.
So it's really good for hero. So hero's going to be betting a lot here. So when you've got a 10, just a regular 10, there's still no reason not to bet it, right? Because then you can check the river, right? Why do you want to check here versus checking the river? Is the question.
So that he bets because he has some aces too, right?
Yeah. Well, the thing is, like when you've got a 10, you can decide to either bet here, right, or you can bet the river, or you can check here and we'll check the river. Just going check is not really, like checking twice is not really necessary because your hand is still fairly strong. You can probably get an extra treated value somewhere, and your decision now is to just either check here or check the next straight.
Okay. Because we can check the next street.
Yeah, so here when you've got a regular 10, you can block, okay, and then decide what to do on the river. Yeah, because you're going to be betting a lot of your range here. In fact, this ace is so strong, you're going to be betting your entire range. So with that kind of hand, it's better just to block and then decide what to do in the river. And blocking is nice because you can put in other hands inside that range and then decide to split on the river instead. Of course, we're not looking at the block line. We're looking at when we size up a bit and bet half pot. So there actually is some differences between the two ranges, right? You've got a split range here. You're betting your entire range, but you've split between betting half pot and betting quarter pot.
Okay.
And so you're going to be betting half pot with more ace X, a more ace X heavy range, and then you're going to be betting quarter pot with more like other crap. Weaker stuff protected by bang bang sets, right? So this is not within range, not because it checks the turn, but because it bets a different size on the turn. It bets a size that does that you're doing the same thing with all your 10x. And the set of aces will do the same thing. So like the set of aces will also bet smaller. All right, so now
the set of aces bet smaller.
Yeah, because when you've got a weak ace, which you do because a lot of your aces are very weak, they'll also want to bet small alongside the 10, right?
Isn't ace 4 a weak ace?
Yeah, well, you got ace 4, like ace 8, that kind of crap.
Then ace 4 is... Shouldn't ace 4 bet the quarter pot size 2 then?
Yeah, you don't have to do it all the time.
Okay. Okay, so based on that conversation, everyone agree that ace 4 checks?
Okay, so here in the river, how much is this overstack do you have left?
40 big blinds.
Yeah.
Oh, that's like nothing, huh?
Yeah. So every bet now is going to be a block bet.
Wait, we have a third pot bet left, and we're going to block bet?
Yeah. Well, a third pot, right? So any all in will be only a third of the pot, so it'll kind of be blocking your opponent.
I mean, like, 6 is just a clear bet to me.
Why is that?
Because, like, it's so, like, if he has a 10, you don't want him to check back.
And if he's got a 6?
That. Well, with a 6, he would check back as well.
Yeah, so like, which one is he more likely to do? Is it more likely to check back a 6 or more likely to check back a 10?
You're going to check back a 6.
Yeah, so he can bet a 10 all in. Why not?
I just think that real humans won't. Maybe that's the bias. It feels like no one would bet a 10, but I suppose that they should.
Yeah, so when you've only got a third of the pot left, what's alpha for a third of the pot?
25%?
Yeah, 25%.
Did I do that right? Yeah.
So they should be theoretically betting
like 75% of the range.
75% of the time in order to try and make a very strong hand from your range, and different between betting and checking. Right?
Yeah, so I guess 10 has to bet, right?
Yeah.
So 6 is going to check. I mean, it also makes sense because like you want to play it the same way as you play 6.
Yeah.
Like you check a 6, so I thought that wouldn't apply so much when you're so shallow.
No, so like here you're just blocking his checkbacks, right?
Yeah.
And like it applies whether they've got a wide range or a narrow range. It's going to be the same, right? Okay. You're thinking like either you bet yourself,
or you check call,
or you just check all the all in.
Okay.
Right, like betting yourself. How often they're going to call? How often should they call? They should call what, like 75% of the time, right? Because they're only 25%, because that's alpha. But if you check it, how often they're going to be betting? If they're going to be betting more into you more often than that, then checking it becomes a better play.
Okay, so 6 is check. Okay, ace 10, given that it double blocks the bets, gonna need to bet.
Well, I mean, a 10 can bet, doesn't mean it always bets. Right, so you're right about them sometimes checking back at 10. So he ASM for the same reason, like you blocking the 10x, which will check back slightly more often. I mean, definitely an ace won't check back, but if he's got a 10, that'll check back slightly more often. So here, if we go check or bet, that's pretty nice for that hand there that we just always bet ace 4. All right. So I mean, the same thing applies whether we're like deeper or shallower, right? You just put hands into your checking range that block their checkbacks, right? So 6s quite heavily blocks the checkbacks, so that's why we're always checking it. Ace 10, I mean, it reasonably blocks the checkback range. In terms of them having these 10x hands that will check back, right? So like they're checking back a 10 and a 6, right? And so you want to put your strong hands, right? If you can't decide between betting it or checking it, right? Especially with these really strong hands, because they'll basically have 100% 100% equity against the calling range. If you like basically we'll have, well, there's 80%, this is 90%, but very easy check calls with both of those hands. Quite obviously. But betting it yourself versus checking it, blocking your opponent from checking back, and then forcing him to bluff with king high. All right. So yeah, I mean, don't be afraid to take this line where you only leave like a third of the pot behind and then check the river. I mean, usually when that happens, you're going to be giving up a lot. Like look how often you're folding against this bet. You're folding like 80% of the time, right, against a third pot bet. That's because like all of your checks are just basically give ups, right, in this line. Okay, so this one here, now instead of continuation betting on this turn card, different turn card, we're going for the check raise, or really check raise or check call. So after we bet the flop, right, we're more polar than we were pre-flop, and that always happens after you bet. Your range is more polar than previously.
Right.
Considering our range was fairly merged to begin with, now we're quite polar. So the whole idea of checking to defend that polar checking range and then going for the check raise will also apply. All right, so when we've got like an overpair, we need to decide here on the turn whether to bet it ourselves, right, or to check raise.
So we have an overpair. I think what we're going to be doing is check jamming.
Sure. I mean,
So,
it definitely depends on the type of overpair, but yeah.
I think that like it's well suited. That seems like a weird thing to say, but like, and as much as I don't like starting with the raise, king queen suited is the raise.
Do you want to jam this hand?
Yeah.
Why is that?
Like
why can't this not be within range?
Oh, you think it? Oh, because it could just bet the turn for itself.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's think what's not in the range first. Hmm. Five, 4. Suppose 5, 4 could check raise or check call. depending on the size. So 5-4 was like a bluff on the flop, like it had a gutter, and it improves a bit.
Yeah, it's an open ender now.
So normally I would continue betting it.
Why do you want to keep betting it?
Because it also unblocks his folds.
Well, I mean, say for example, like it checks through and you make a pair of fours. Is that not a consideration for you?
It definitely was not, but it could be. Well, didn't he call a huge bet on the flop? I suppose he could do that with like ace queen. Queen, ace jack. Yeah, okay. But he bet. Oh, but we don't know that yet on the turn when we're making a decision. I feel like I'm being led to say that it's king queen that's going to just continue betting.
Why
Higher
that?
off. So, like, like a line. So where, like a line that an overpair could take would be 3/4 on the flop, half pot on the turn, jam on the river. Like if you've got say kings or queens, you could do that, and then your king queen of spades is like the perfect candidate to do that with. Well, at least on the turn, it's the perfect hand to do it with. Your other option with an overpair is to check raise. So, or like check jam, something like that. So if that's the case, then kings or queens, king queen suited could do the same. I don't really know how 10-9 suited fits in because like you're really polar on the flop, and then you check the turn, but like we're still a polar range. Like the checking range is like deceptively polar because you're trying to check trap, check jam him if you're strong hand. And the other hand is ace king, huh? Wait a minute. If ace king is your polar one, if you're checking with like a more polar range, oops. What's going on here? I can't see the screen anymore.
Yeah, no. So like, you're not checking with a polar range. You just had a polar range here on the flop. Okay, and then the turn didn't improve your bluffs, and so by definition, your range here on the turn is going to be polar.
Yeah.
Right, and so then when you bet the turn, okay, your range is even more polar. Right, so your range gets more and more polar the more often you bet.
Yeah, but like 10-9 suited doesn't feel like it fits into a super polar range, so it would check. Yeah, I'm confused, but not in the range.
All right, think about how you want to play your flush draws.
You don't want to fold them.
Yep, sure. You don't want to fold them. Well, what else do you want?
The ones that have showdown value, you want to preserve that, and the ones that don't, you can start to go more aggressive with.
Yeah, so if you're trying to preserve your showdown value, How do you do that?
I don't think king queen suited has any showdown value, or very much. It'd be super tough. It's like you're really hoping he goes check 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 check, and that's Let me just look at the button. That would call the flop bet. Like he could have like maybe queen jack or king jack. That's dubious. Yeah, I mean, I don't think king queen has any showdown value really.
All right. So if you guys check check on the turn, and then you make like your king or your queen. All right. What does that mean for you?
If you hit your king or queen,
Yeah, if you hit your king or your queen.
oh, that's good.
All right. And what if you go bet call on the turn and you hit your king or the queen?
Still all right.
But is it better for you?
It'd be much better if it'd be much better if you went check check and you hit your king or queen.
Why is that?
Because he could have two pairs or something. Oh, never mind. You want more money in the pot if you hit your king or queen. I feel like I'm talking all over the place. I wish someone else would jump in.
What else we got? Yeah. What do you think, Martin?
Okay, I just figured out why I haven't been able to hear Marcus for the last couple of episodes, and I can hear him now, so that's good news. So I hope I'm not repeating what you guys have said already.
I've said like nothing of value, so just go for it.
Well, I'm just thinking of the not in range, and what may want to go ahead and bet the turn, and that is the 5-4, because it doesn't want to check call, and if it does hit one of its pairs, it's not that great. So I'm kind of thinking that one might not be in the range.
Why can't I check call this bet?
Well, we got what, 8 outs now with the 7, right?
So you've almost got direct odds. So here you gain 20%.
Yeah.
What? A little over 16.
So Willie Thomas and I talked about it, and like if you check the 5-4 and it goes check check, and you hit a 4 or a 5 on the river, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then like you've got some showdown value there.
Yeah. See, the 10-9 could continue betting because it's got top pair, it's got a gut shot.
And the only thing is like you're supposed to be super. So like on the flop, you're polar, right? And if you bet again, you're even more polar. And I don't think 10-9, like a weak 10, like a weak top pair, fits into a super polar range. Don't you want to preserve that for your over pairs? So, all right, I think I figured it out finally.
Polar. I'm not sure if we're that polar.
Yeah, we are, because the flop bet is 3/4 pot, right?
Yeah.
Okay, I think I figured it out. Ace King is actually going to bet the flop. Or sorry, bet the turn rather, because it's super polar and like it has 6 outs.
All right, so I'm going to ask the question again. So if you have Ace King,
yeah, I'm hoping for a savior.
Right.
to join the call.
Do you want to just go check check and then you make your ace or your king, or you want to bet and then call or make your ace or your king? Or do you want to go check check? You miss your ace and your king, and you go check check again. And you win the river.
If you have ace king, you want to go check check, and you could win
so
that
you want
showdown.
to go check check and you win at showdown. So why do you want to bet it then?
Well, because on the flop, I don't know if you're gonna win at showdown anymore after the flop.
Well, we just said he's got his queen, doesn't he?
Oh yeah. Enough though.
Yeah. Well, if he doesn't have if he doesn't have enough ace queen, then when an ace or a queen comes, we can just start blasting with our entire range. Although that probably happens anyway. We already discussed what happened when an ace comes.
Yeah.
So like knowing what happens when an ace comes, right? Ace queen becomes really good to call the flop.
Yeah.
Because when an ace comes, like we're always going to be betting into it, and it's going to have such a high EV because of that.
Okay.
Is there anything about that particular ace king that makes us want to check more than other ace kings, like double backdoor blocking? Was there any reason to that, or is it just generally ace king just checking twice?
Here in the turn, like ace king always checks it because you want to just get the showdown.
Okay.
So
Okay.
if ace king just wants to get to showdown, and 10-9 would be, I maintain that 10-9 is too low to bet, and then 5-4 could like check call a small bet or check raise it, and like it's not too unhappy to, like it would rather go check check and like maybe at a 4-5, but it's not the end of the world if he bets into us. So like I maintain that king queen is gonna have to bet then, and it's not in the range.
Yeah, so that's the answer to that.
All right, sigh of relief.
Yeah, so in terms of all your flush draws, like, he's not going to be betting too many of his flush draws here because he can get check jammed on.
Oh, and that'll suck for him.
Yeah, so when you've got king queen, right, you just block a lot of his checkbacks. Right, so when you block his checkbacks, he's going to be betting into you more often. So it's actually not quite as nice to be checking it here because you just get bet into more often than you should because you.
So to be clear, like we were talking about, like kind of the beginning of the question, the king queen is going to play like kings or queens a little bit, and kings or queens are going to bet flop, bet turn, bet river. Right. Similarly, when we have the king queen, we're gonna bet flop. Well, because we have the backdoor, and then when we have the king queen that hits the backdoor flush is gonna bet the turn, and then hopefully hit a flush on the river, obviously, or like maybe turn it into a bluff.
No, so like he when he's got a flush draw,
Yeah.
right, he's going to check back that more often because he doesn't want to put himself into a position where he has to fold the flush draw.
Yeah.
All right. So like knowing that you're not going to be folding flush draws, he's going to be checking back a hand like the queen of spades, jack of spades, or something like that. So here, if we have king queen, we block his check back range. So we're going to get bet into more often, which is actually a worse result for this hand because we actually want it when we're checking this flush draw, we want him to check back and then make our
maybe
flush,
we hit,
right? So that's what we want, but that's not going to happen because we block the checkbacks.
Yeah.
Right? So then when we block the checkbacks,
we often bet
into us more often.
when
So instead of just going to be betting ourselves.
Yeah. All right.
Can you explain the block the check back thing again? What do you mean? Like,
yeah, I think I can do it.
You block the fact that he has hands to check back with, like, so he should bet more. Like, how does king queen?
I think I can explain
Really?
it for you. So let's say you have a hand that wants him to bet, right? That you want to put money in. When you're out of position, you're going to check the hands that you block his checkbacks because you want to put money in. Now, when we don't want him to put money in, we're
Give me an
gonna.
example of a check back that King Queen would like. Just because he has King Jack, he checks back. We block it.
So no, so he like let's say you have aces, right?
Yeah.
Like often aces will check, and the reason is he would check back his ace high, right? Just on some random board, right? If he's going to check back his ace high, you can check aces,
Is that
and
really
then
the
he's going to
reason
bet.
why though?
Yeah, that's often a reason. So let's say you have aces, right? You can check. He's going to bet more into you, and then you can raise him, or you could call him and trap him. You know, you had all those options.
Yeah, I wouldn't view aces like that. I just view them as like, strong cards to protect your checking range. I didn't think it would just block.
Well, when you're
I
thinking
wouldn't
about
assume that because he has an ace, I'm going to play ace X hands like this. Like,
well, when you want to protect your check range, the whole reason so there's two reasons to protect your check range, right? So that he can't when you have weak hands, he can't just fire off. He can't just bet and blast off your equity. And also, when you have a strong hand, if you have a like you throw the whole point of like having those strong hands in your check range, so you can raise them and like be like, haha, I got you. Like you put money into the pot.
all right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Okay.
So like the reasons like complement each other. So when you're sorting your hands, your strong hands between protecting your check range and betting yourself, the way to do so efficiently is to check the hands that you want him to bet that block his check back range. So he'll bet them for you. Does that make sense? You got to sort the hands.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, you have some hands that like will fire, and some hands that need to protect the check range. Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So to do it, so like how are you going to decide which one's going which? And the way you decide
So whatever's
to, like,
higher EV
make-
and
is to make him do-
mix is good.
well, whatever's higher EV, which means you're going to make him do the one you want. You're going to want him like make him do the one you want him to do. You know what I mean? He's more likely to bet into you when you block his check back, which is what you want him to do. So in this case, though, you have two spades, and so in this case, you have king queen, right?
So you block his calling range, don't you?
No. So what do you want him to do with king queen?
What do you want him to do?
Yeah,
Check
so
back.
you want to check
Yeah.
back, right? What's the problem though?
Yeah.
He's going to check back his flushes.
He would. You think? Okay, say that again.
So what's the problem with king queen? If you check it, because you want him to check back. What's the problem? He's not going to check back because he's going to check back his flushes, and the reason he's going to check back his flushes is because if he bets his flush draw and then you raise him, he has to fold, which sucks for him. Right? Like let's say you check and he bets 15 and you jam on him for 70, right? He's got to call 55 and like he just doesn't have it, right? Hello?
No, I know what you're saying. I just
Yeah, so that's what Thomas is saying, that like he's going to check back his flushes, which is what you don't want him to do. Or, sorry, not flushes, flush draws rather. So which is not what you want him to do. So how do you? So if he's not going to do what you want him to do, you got
There's some assumptions there.
Yeah, so it's at equilibrium, right? So like he's going to be doing both, but given your blockers, he's going to do one of them more of the time. So like let's say you had no blockers and you didn't know, villain's got a strategy, right? Now when you add in your blockers, that shifts the frequencies with which he has each combo. But he's already got his strategy set because he doesn't know your cards. Thomas, am I sort of on the ball or?
Yeah, so he's going to have a betting frequency, and that betting frequency is going to try and make your hand indifferent between betting and checking, right? Your strong hands, okay? And so he's going to have a check back range as well, right? And that check back range is actually going to be slightly heavier in the flush draws. Reason being is because he doesn't want to put himself in a position where he has to fold a flush draw. Okay, Those flush draws are
Okay.
going to be stuff like king queen, king jack, queen jack. Is there queen nine? Don't think so. Right, so those three flush draws there. Also ace queen. So like those flush draws are going to check back. Okay. So when we've got
So I guess
king,
you just
queen,
block the check back flush draws, right?
yeah, and so when you think about the rest of the hands in his range, those hands are all going to bet. Well, those hands are going to be more likely to bet. All right. So when we check with king queen, we're more likely to face a bet, which is the opposite of the result that we want. Right. We would much prefer it check through, and then we make our flush or whatever, or make our king or a queen. So knowing that, if we bet ourselves, we can just push our equity, which is nice. But we also have to. It also means that we don't have to deal with him betting into us when we check.
Yeah. I'm not sure. I guess I just looked at it kind of in a vacuum, or just kind of looked at it and thought that, didn't really look at the air or the fact that it would block some of his check back range, really. I just looked at it more like, okay, we have a backdoor flush draw that we bet. We better continue on the turn, kind of thing. And then I also think like a lot of flush draws are just going to get bet, especially king high flush draws here. So like when I look in practice to play this hand, I'm like, yeah, I just bet twice, or I'd bet this turn. Like a lot.
Yeah, sure, but you have to decide which of your flush draws you're going to be betting and which ones you're going to be checking.
I thought this would be valuable enough to bet, like more
Okay,
often.
Say for example you've got like ace four of spades. Okay, like what's your decision process there about whether or not you want to bet ace four of spades? Ace four of spades and king queen of spades, like they seem fairly similar. They're both strong flush draws.
Well, ace four is interesting. I'd just be more inclined to bet, I'd think, with the ace high draw or the ace high flush. Just betting more valuable flushes and not as weak ones. Maybe mix.
Yeah, okay,
probably
so
more a theoretical way to.
Which flush draws are you going to be checking then? So you're betting all your king high flush draws. You're betting all your ace high flush draws.
Maybe like
You've
queen
got
jack.
Queen jack, which is one combination.
Jack 9. Jack 8.
I mean, Jack 9 and Jack 8.
And then maybe use the low ones to bluff with.
Well. I don't think you've even got Jack 8. But Jack 9 is also a gut shot. So,
what about the lower end flushes? Wouldn't you use those as bets and some of the middling ones more as checks?
Yeah, well, the issue is then, like, if you've got the low end flush draw and you get jammed on, it's not quite as nice.
Oh, yeah. Okay. So it's in equilibrium, someone having a range to attack that part of your flushes. I mean, it's not very nice to bet those. Okay. No, I can see that. Okay. But then just because of that, you're only going to bet your good flush draws? It doesn't really seem like the best reason. Like,
maybe this will help you out.
So exactly, you need a reason to decide between whether you want to bet or check the flush draw. All right, so it's like just because you've got a flush draw, that's not a good enough reason to bet it.
well, you don't bet all of them, right?
Yeah, but
So
you have
maybe
to think about why you're going to be betting them.
My general thoughts are I bet good ones, and the weaker ones I can check back a bit more.
Well, here you're out of position, so there's no checking back for you.
All right.
So maybe this is helpful. Thomas no longer puts it at the start of his quizzes, but he used to put like you just bought into your local like 5100 game for $10,000. The game like when you're playing those stakes, you want to play like near perfect. You're not really trying to like many so you want to be playing like really really methodically, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Okay.
So if you're playing really really methodically, you're not just kind of going on vague like I'm gonna maybe bet some and check some. Like you're gonna really think, right?
Well, yeah, you'd have your flush draws planned out, but that doesn't. Yeah, like I mean, yeah, you'd have your strategy a bit more panned out, but okay.
So like let's just take it a step further, right? So like you're not gonna like at these games, you're not gonna go on vague like generalities of like what you might want to do. You're gonna like think really hard about the blockers because like even like so like if you're playing like 50-100, like let's say like the EV is like higher by like 3/4 of a big blind, that's $75, right? So like maybe this is just a good way to put this into your
just
head.
like the relevance of a bigger game and just playing a good strategy. Is that what you're trying to say?
Yeah, like you're trying to play like super solid because these are really strong. Like the ideas are you're playing against really strong players, not that you're playing against like like people that have massive flaws. Okay.
So you're saying in this environment, in simulation, you're just playing with perfect players where we're just trying to seek balance.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, GTO, no exploiting.
No exploiting. Not allowed. Okay. Okay.
All right. Let's continue, I guess. So
like if you got like ace-4 of spades, if you check, right, it's the same idea between ace-4 and king-queen. Like if you check, you want your opponent to check back. All right. So with the ace-4, you actually end up blocking him from having some hands which would bet. All right, namely, I have like ace of spades, queen, right, which will bet now after floating the flop. Okay, it'll bluff now after floating the flop, at least some of the time. Similarly, some of his nut flush draws that with the two overs, specifically like ace queen of spades maybe, and ace jack of spades. Those hands are both strong enough to bet and then call the all in. So if you block them, you end up blocking him from betting into you. So you're more likely to he's more likely to check back. So when you've got the nut flush draw here, right, he's more likely to check back. You also end up unblocking those weaker flush draws, the king queen, queen jack, king jack, and so like if he goes check check and then the flush comes, right, you have hands in your opponent's range that you'll beat. You'll have like those very strong hands in your opponent's range that you'll beat, right? Which is nice. Of course, like you'll beat your opponent's entire range because you've got the nut flush, but like your opponent will have slightly more flushes in their range when the flush comes. When you've got like ace-4 of spades compared to king queen. Right, when you got king queen and when it goes check check and then like the flush comes, you end up blocking him from having those weaker flushes, and so then he's got like a nut flush against you, which is going to be ace jack, I think. But then ace jack probably doesn't even check back. So like I mean that's not a huge consideration. The main thing is that you end up blocking him from betting into you when you've got the ace of spades, right? Compared to when you've got the king of spades, queen of spades, you end up blocking him from checking back. Okay.
Yeah.
And so that slight difference can be the difference in terms of your EV between betting or checking, even though they all seem quite similar. They're both strong flush draws, right?
It's more like just like not seeing the big picture, right? Like not all the future parts for me.
Yeah, I mean, going one way or another will have slightly higher expectation, right? When you've got a draw, you want it to check through, and then you complete your draw. Right, bluffing, right, will usually just end up having the same EV as the other line. Okay. So if you do decide to like, and so that like as like an average, of course, it's actually very difficult for your opponent to, in most spots, construct their range to make all of your draws indifferent between checking and betting, right? It's basically impossible to do that, right? So some of the draws will have more EV going one way or another. Okay, and so this is an example of that, where you've got a hand like king queen, which is a high EV betting, and a hand like ace-4 has a high EV checking, right, of the spades. Anyway, so check, bet, half pot, and now you have to decide what to do. with these three hands?
Yeah. So, obviously a hand like 10-9 is going to want to continue. So let's think about which one we want to fold between Ace King and 5-4. So Ace King 6 outs, and also could be good against like just a quarter pot maybe. Versus a hand like 5-4, which has 8 outs, like eight pretty solid outs, and like some EV when you hit your 4 or 5. So I think that Ace King is going to fold.
Okay. All right, so everyone agree with that?
Yep, I agree, and I think 5-4. Okay. 10-9 makes an okay raise, but 5-4 unblocks a lot of bluffs. So I think due to that and that increased fold equity, I think 5-4 makes a better raise and 10-9 makes the call.
Seems like safer. Like playability wise.
Yeah. Well, see, with
you're not going to get owned by 2 pair.
With 5-4,
there's another consideration. I'm not rejecting you.
But 10-9, if you get if you hit your 8, like 10-8's improved to 2 pair, or wait, just like a playability kind of thing. I don't know.
So maybe the problem with calling 10-9 is that there's 12 overcards that can come in 44. So I'm just laying the counter example, and we'll compare them. So if you call 10-9 and then a queen, and then the river comes Jack, Queen, King, or Ace, right? That kind of sucks. Whereas with 5-4, you might be able to call 5-4, see the river. Hopefully, it comes an 8 or a 3, and then you can.
But because 5-4 unblocks, a lot of bluffs, and also because if we raise it, we're going to get the max bluff equity.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think we're going to have to raise 5-4 and call 10-9.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it just unblocks so many bluffs, and it's going to increase our bluff equity or fold frequency of our opponent. I think that makes the better raise. And 10-9, it's a made hand. We can call. We still got another street, and we can.
I think still it also the main reason I think that the 10-9 might be like if you raise, you're like way ahead, way behind type of thing.
This reminds me of edge of a poker hand. Queen 7-6. You're the button and you min raise, and the guy calls. You have Jack 6, 6-5, and Ace 6. And what's better to raise? And there's perceived ranges and playability. I think this is a similar spot to me.
Well, 5-4, we can only improve on a gut shot, but we have a lot of fold equity. 10-9,
5-4 is open ender. 5-4 is open ender.
Yeah, an open ender, even better. So we've got like I said, I'm blocking the bluffs. We got lots of fold equity. Plus, we nail it if we hit our gut shot. We just like super
open ender.
Our open ender, super plus EV. The 10-9 we can call. We can still improve, and we still have a street left. But if
that's not why I'm agreeing. Yeah,
that's about what I got to say.
No. That's fair. Yeah. So maybe just to like slightly correct that a bit, like 10-9, like if you raise and he calls, you're behind.
Say you hit your straight
with the 5-4. Yeah. So like you have like direct odds to call the
other guy hits 2 pair.
What 2 pairs are you gonna hit?
Like 10-8. No. Maybe not.
He has very little 10-8. The most important consideration is how does 5-4 want to play, right? And so 5-4 has direct odds to just call. the 15 big blinds? Like, because you need 20% to call, right? 15 divided by, wait, what do you need? You need 15 to win 90. 1/6. You need like 17% to call, which is like you have 8 outs and like that's about it. So I don't think you actually have when he bets quarter pot. I don't think that the 5 or the 4 outs are that strong, but you have 8 outs and to win like 17% of the time. So you have like direct equity there, plus the equity for like the implied odd equity.
I like 5-4 as a raise.
Right.
I think thinking about it.
Yeah, and then the reason I still tend to want to raise it is like looking at the button range. He's got no. I mean, you block the folds of 5s and 4s, but whatever. The main thing is you want to unblock his like 9s that will fold and like king queen and king jack and queen jack and maybe like all those overcard flush draws will probably fold. Like you get to start to beat a lot of hands that you used to not win against if you can bluff them off. Whereas 10-9, I'm gonna look at the buttons range. Like you could have like someone just joined. 10-9, like you could have like
I think there's also just very basic, simple reasons you look at it, and it just seems like a raise 5-4 call 10-9. Like the extra important things are like good important things to add, but I think just looking at it, you can just like there's just like a very simple, clear reasons more so than advanced ones.
Like if we call with the 10-9 and then the river goes check check, do we have
We're
showdown value?
Absolutely.
Okay. And what about with 5-4? If we call and the river goes check check, if we don't hit our straight, do we have any showdown value?
Yeah, so I was thinking like if you there's well no you don't, but that's not a automatic that we could just bluff it on the river. We could just donk with it. It's not so bad. You know, like
you can still fire bluffs and you call 10-9.
Sorry
about that. Go ahead.
So let's say we check the 5-4 and then the turn goes check check and the river goes check and the river comes like 4 or 5 and it goes check check. Like 4 or 5 might be good, right? Because you could have like ace queen, especially ace queen with a spade. Like say like maybe all sorts of stuff. Like a lot of 2 spades.
1 spade.
Like a lot of his 2 spades like queen jack. Like we already discussed that he's going to be checking back a lot. But the thing is, when he bets quarter pot, I don't know if we hit a 5 or 4, it's good anymore. So we literally do only have the 8 outs. But you do get direct equity to just call it, right? With your implied odds. Well, with your implied odds makes it plus EV. Without the implied odds, it would make it 0 EV. Just call the quarter pot, because like what do you need in order to call quarter pot? You need 17%, 16 point.
But we're on the turn, right? So direct odds isn't like we still have to face another round of betting. So like you got to think we're going to be faced with on the river too, right?
Right. Like you could bluff it, number one, but like also like it's not the end of the world. Call, you miss whatever percent of the time, and you fold. Right? Because it's only quarter pot. So what do you need to call a quarter pot? You need 15 to win 90, which is 15, which is 1/6, which is 16.67, right? That's your direct odds. And you have 8 outs in 44 cards, right? Which is, sorry, I need a calculator, but the 2% rule, like it's 16, 17%, something like that, right? 8 outs, 44 cards.
I'm really confused. It seems like there's just like, is this really that complicated of a thing? Like,
I don't think so, because 10-9 is a made hand.
It's just so simple.
Yeah,
Like-
10-9 is a made hand. So our calling EV has got to be really good on it. And our calling EV on the draw isn't as good, but our bluffing EV is very good. So and 10-9 call, 5-4 raise. I think it's pretty straightforward.
I would think so. Yeah, like it's got to be.
Does everyone agree?
Yeah, I mean, I still lean to jamming the 5 to raising the 5-4 and calling 10-9, but I don't think it's like I don't think
That's
think I
clear.
don't think
You don't think it's as clear as we think, right?
I
Or
don't
like,
think
as I think, I would say.
I don't think you can just make decisions like, oh man, like yeah, this is like what it feels like we should do.
But if you don't know, wouldn't it be better to lean towards simplicity and kind of random, like, or like if it was something close like that, and like, but it's very simple point that's very strong. We have some advanced points. Like, I think I'd lean towards just going with something simple personally. That's a different topic altogether, but like, it just seems very simple.
I think what you need to do, like as a general process, I think you need to consider the checking EV and the betting EV and the jamming EV for each hand, and then make your decision likewise, right? So the 5-4 is plus EV to call for sure, but the raise, I think the jamming EV is great because you unblock a lot of his folds, like all his double overs and stuff, which you lose to, which is really
Just
awesome.
comparing like the EVs of both checking and betting kind of thing.
Yeah, I think that's like the best like method to go with, as opposed to like just saying it seems pretty straightforward. Like I think that I think that like that's a very common like starting thing to go with, like when you're like as a beginning player, you're gonna want to do that. But I think what we're trying to do here is like compare the EVs and choose the higher EV line with each hand.
Sometimes those can be a bunny hole, like a but like maybe you can.
If the 5-4 wasn't hearts, if it was clubs, diamonds, forget about spades right now, would the answer still be the same?
Right?
I think not. I think it only works with the 5-4 of hearts.
I think the answer is the same for the clubs or the diamonds.
I'm not 100% sure of that.
I mean, like it can't be that much different.
We're not blocking that way. We're blocking more of his backdoor bluffs. So I think the whole argument goes down the toilet if it isn't the 5-4 of exactly hearts.
So remember, he doesn't have a whole lot of like look at the button for small blind 3-bet call range. Like he's got ace 5, ace 4, 5-4, 6-5, and that's it. That's all his 5s and 4s and 4s and 5s, right? It's not that much. It's not a huge percentage.
The 5-4 exactly unblocks all backdoors. Is that why? It's like don't they have the most backdoor calling range?
Okay,
Doesn't
so
they
like,
have more calling range because he has hearts? Like
so, okay, I
unblocks
can do better. I can do
range?
if he has ace 5 or ace 4, and you 3/4 pot the flop, he's gonna fold, right? He's not gonna call ace 4 or ace 5 with the hearts. He might call it with the diamonds or clubs. You're right. So it does make a small difference. And then, like even if 5-4, like even if the 5-4 of clubs or diamonds that he has, like I don't think he's gonna have a very fun time calling them. So I'm gonna say the 5-4 suits does make a difference, but yeah.
All right. So
Oh, yeah.
So
You see?
you guys lost probably 2 or 3 big lines in EV there.
Yeah, I wasn't. Yeah.
Yeah. So here with 10-9, your opponent is gonna have some bluffs, right, in their range.
And his bluffs are like the double over cards, right?
Yeah, I mean, there's double over cards, a bunch of flush draws. Because it's mainly because there's so many different kinds of bluffs that he could have, right? When there's so many different kinds of bluffs that he can have, raising to get a bunch of them to fold, right? Even though each particular bluff isn't quite strong, the combination of them together, right, going into the river.
Yeah, you don't know which one he's going to hit.
You.
Yeah,
because you don't know which one he's going to hit, right? And he can when one hits, he can use a missed one to bluff, right? So raising 10-9, and in fact you end up raising a lot of your top pairs. I'll show you guys here. a lot of your top pairs will raise, is just strictly better, right? So here 10-9 raising here to 46.5, wins you about a big blind. Is that particular hand 10-9 of clubs? Yeah, it's one of the big blinds, about a big blind and a half there. Okay. And the reason being is because like you raise and then you basically, even though this is a very small raise, you get your opponent to fold out all those bluffs, right? And then in order for your opponent
And if
to
he jams,
re-jam you, like you're gonna snap call because like you got you only have to call a tiny bet. At that stage, you only have to call 25 to win 200. So. Or 30 to win 200, so like it's not a huge amount. 25 to win 200. Yeah, 24 to win 200. So like you don't need that many. You don't need that much in terms of pot odds in order to call the bet. But the idea is like you raise.
Does 10x mean more protection than we kind of gave credit to? Is that?
Yeah, so like a lot of your 10x needs protection,
Is that the
but
main reason?
You can also get like really thin value from some worse hands, some worse 10x, right? These pocket pairs here, okay, some 6x, 7x, it's 2 pair, but it's a set. Here's a little bit 1 pair there, some more 1 pair, some more 1 pair, right? The flush draws, okay, the flush draws will always want to continue. But the idea mainly is to like force your opponent to put all their money in now, or to fold. You can do that by just raising small here.
all right, Thomas, I have a question.
Yep.
Okay, so remember in the quiz, the last quiz where it was like 9-7 the flop, like we were mainly studying the 9-7-5 flop and the ace-9 hand, and I said something that I agree is completely stupid, which was like it's gonna want protection because like there's just so many overcards to it, and like you don't know what's gonna come, and so it's a strong hand now, but might not be a strong hand on the river, and like it's completely clear to me that that's not the case. Like if it's a strong hand, like a strong hand implies that it's gonna be good on the river, not that it's good now, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the 10-9 isn't that sort of like I was really looking into calling 5-4 and raising 10-9 because of the same reason. But the reason I was hesitant to say it, like to go much stronger on it, well, one was because 2 people were fighting me on it, and then 2 was like you don't like I have a so like I'm you don't want to like say like I've got a strong hand now, so I raise. Even though like the definition of a strong hand is not strong now, it's like likely to be good on the river, right?
Yeah. So like here with this particular hand, the reason why you're raising is because the EV is higher than calling. The issue is when you call, right, your opponent with their variety of different kinds of bluffs will be able to hit one and then bluff the missed one, right? But
right.
Raising gives raising will essentially remove all of that from your opponent's range, even though like you're going to sometimes run into like the top of your opponent's range, but that's going to happen anyway. And it's also going to happen at roughly the same frequency, whether if you just call and then the river comes, whatever. So here now raising, it gets your opponent. It does get your opponent to fold worse, but also your opponent will call a little bit worse hands, but also definitely jam worse hands into you as well, right?
Yeah, no, I get it. I just thought it was like an interesting like the things seem similar but have different answers, so I think it was worth pointing out.
Yeah, I mean, there's in terms of this particular hand, you would have also made more money by jamming 10-9 rather than just calling it. And the idea is roughly the same. Like if you just jam here, right, some worse hands are still going to call you. All right.
Yeah.
So where is the 10x, right? So like here they've got the pocket 9s, pocket 8s, right? Ace jack flush draw. Like there's all flush draws there. They're just going to call you. Whereas the main of those pocket pairs. But here with particular 10-9, right, you can raise small and then snap off the all in, right? Because like if you raise small, then some worse hands are definitely going to jam into you.
It seems a little bit problematic to raise small and then snap off the all in. Like, what do you raise small and then fold? Like complete air?
Yeah, basically.
So what do you fold?
Well,
Like air.
Ace king, yeah.
Yeah, I mean that makes sense.
The idea is that you can raise,
Yeah,
all right, and then just smush your equity into your opponent because the stack to pot ratio is very low.
yeah.
That basically is what's happening here. Because like
Yeah,
the all in is only a 60% pot bet, right? If you just call here, right, the pot's 9 and 55 behind. Okay, so like just jamming is just smushing your equity into your opponent's range, right? Pushing your equity into your opponent's range, forcing them to fold the worse hands, and then call with some worse hands, and then definitely they're going to be calling with a better hand. But even against the better hands, you've got a good chunk of equity because your 10-9's got the gut shot as well as the
Oh, yeah, more outs. Yeah, nice.
Yeah, it's got the 5 outs to improve
Plus
against
the 4.
like an overpair. It's got 3 outs.
Plus it's got 9 outs.
Yeah, 9 outs to improve against an overpair, and 7 outs to improve against a stronger top pair. So
Yeah.
Definitely not too bad in that regard. But like even like a queen 10, which is fairly similar to the 10-9. Right, they can just jam. But then again, the queen 10 will also get called by jack 10. Right, and that's probably that slight difference there. But the main idea is like when the stack to pot ratio gets really low, basically you can just push your equity into your opponent when you're out of position. Because calling out of position, right, and then having to fade the river, decide which rivers are going to put all the money in. Right, there's jack 10 there, and it'll be the same with all these different overcards. Okay, right, there's jack 10, so all these overcards aren't so great. So if it's not going to be great for the jack 10, it's probably not going to be great for the 10-9 either. Well, maybe 10-9 will always call. Like an undercard maybe. Right. Yeah, then we'll call. But the EV in this line isn't super great, right? Even though you've got the top pair. Okay. It just ends up being not super high when your opponent jams into you on the river, right? After you've called the turn and then checked. Right, your EV is only high because like if it goes check then you win, right? Like all the time. But like is that super necessary? Right, is it super necessary to have a hand like that in your range? Not really, right? It doesn't really make too much sense to have a hand that will lose a lot to the all in, but win a lot when it goes check. Right, it's just better to have a hand that will win sometimes when it goes check. And also lose a lot when it took the all in. Right, when the stack to pot ratio is low, you can just push all those hands into your opponent.
Yeah. No, that makes a lot of sense.
Right. On the other hand, like if you got a straight, like you win like a lot both ways, right? You win when your opponent jams into you, and you win all the time when they check back, right? So you end up winning the most out of your opponent that you possibly can by calling there. And 5-4 is similar in that regard because here 5-4, right, you actually leave a little bit left behind. So when you do make your hand and your opponent jams into you end up winning more than the pot. Right. So like here 5-4, when there's like a 3, when the river is a 3, you end up winning more than the pot.
Yeah, because the implied odds.
Yeah, because the implied odds, right? So here you just call, and then it's like the 3 of hearts or whatever. What's your EV with 5-4? There's 120, and the pot's only 90. And say for example, it's an 8. What's it going to be? 91, so a little bit more than the pot. If it's a 5, right, that's 15 because when it goes check, you're winning its ace high. It's going to be roughly the same when it's a 4 as well. right?
Yep.
12. So just calling is nice because like you actually kind of preserve your
Sure.
pair equity, right, with the 5 and the 4, right, while also having really high
Yeah.
equity when one of those straight cards come in. On the other hand, which we didn't look at, but let's say for example ace 3 and ace 4, right? Why do these hands always jam? It's because like when you actually make your hand on the river, jack spade maybe. You end up blocking a little bit of the bets in that, or you end up blocking those hands that bet into you, right? So because of how your opponent's betting ace queen with the ace of spades, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you got the ace of spades yourself, like if you just call and then you make your flush, right, on the river, your opponent's less likely to bet into you.
Yeah.
So EV is not quite as high. Right. So there's a flush one, there's 120. Right, and 120 on the flush was just the same as the 5-4 making the 3, right? Making the straight there. So it's not. It's probably about as high as you can possibly get. Okay, but once again, jamming, smushing your 40% equity into your opponent is the way to go there.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, I think
and then is it really necessary to have that ace high in your range? No, because like ace high will always lose that showdown anyway, right? Because your opponent will only be checking back ace queen, ace jack, so you just lose, right? And then making the pair is making the pair with the top kicker actually any good? No, because your opponent is less likely to be checking back a hand that you beat because you block the ace high which checks back, right? So when you've got like ace 4 here, if you made a pair of 4s on the river, your opponent is less likely to check back because you blocked that hand. You blocked the hand that you want to win against that showdown. Versus 5-4, that's not necessarily the case. All right, so I mean, when the stack pool ratio gets low, you can do weird stuff like that, where you just jam all these hands with like 40% equity against the calling range, and then have a really high EV.
Yeah, I get it. That's what I was thinking when I was doing in the other question, but I see I was wrong because of the different SPR.
Yeah, it's mainly a when the SPR. Like if the SPR was much deeper, you'd probably never do this.
Yeah, you couldn't. It'd be terrible.
Yeah, you lose a lot, right? So
because you lose more, right?
Yeah, you lose more because you're just put an extra bet into you. This is here you can't, right? There's no money left. All right, so
same line, same flop.
Yeah, bet check and on the river. Anyway, does that make sense to everyone else? What I was saying about the 10-9 and the 5-4? You don't want to explain it again?
No, it does now. Thank you, sir.
All right. So yeah, this line. Yep.
Okay. So kings and queens seem so just thinking out loud here. Kings and queens seem awfully similar, except the king. I have a feeling. Remember we talked about blocking the flush draw that he would check back. The king of clubs blocks the flush draw that he would check back, right? And the queens, we don't have a queen of clubs, so he might bet a flush. Or sorry, let me rephrase that because that wasn't what I meant. The king of clubs blocks some hands that'll check back, so it'll continue betting the turn.
Don't we want to block hands that check back when we've got kings here?
Wait, sorry. I know. I'm trying to get the logic right. We want to block hands that'll check back.
We've got the king of clubs that does that. So great. So we check it.
We check it. Yeah, sorry. I got mixed up from the last question. We wanted him to check, but now we want him to bet. So we want him to bet. So we want to block the checkbacks. So we check, and then so the queens is not in the range.
Well, I mean, both these hands can just check raise here on the turn, so.
Okay, but all right.
Does fives bet the flop for that sizing?
Yeah, it seems weird.
Can we go scroll back to the beginning of the hand? Like, see what he did? Okay.
I'm not sure what we do with pocket pairs between the 6 and the 2. On this flop
Check.
texture.
You
Well,
check a lot.
it's such a dry texture. We may have to use those low pocket pairs as.
Oh yeah,
as
you have to bets, yeah, to protect him.
bluffs,
Yeah, you actually probably bet him all the time. Actually, yeah, because the 2 is on board. Like 3s, you'd
Nope.
bet almost all the time. I bet.
So you don't have 2s through 4s.
Or 3s through 5s.
You don't have 2s, 3s, or 4s.
Also, with 7-6 with the middle pair.
So the difference between 7-6 and 5s is mainly the fact that the 5s has 2 outs and the 7-6 has 5. And the back
3 bet the pre-flop, right? I didn't see that part. I only see 3 streets, but he wouldn't have 5s in the 3 bet.
Yeah,
or 4 3s 2s.
Wait. Yeah, he doesn't have 4s, 3s, or 2s.
SB, yeah, okay. So 5s is just like weakest pair, right? He's 3 betting.
5s is the weakest pocket pair.
Okay, yeah, that seems reasonable. Okay.
Yeah, I agree with you, Willie. I think that if it's done, the 3/4 pot bet on the flop with 5s is very low frequency. Because like you're saying you're polar, right? And you're kind of want to have like, more than 2 outs when you bluff. You'd much prefer to have 5 outs. Like,
Yeah.
I'd much rather. Well, you don't have ace 2 spades.
It's just something weird happens with those lower pocket pairs, like between the 6 and the 2 when the board's dry. It might be a bet, but maybe with
this.
I think I prefer to go half pot with the 5s, but I know that whenever we're doing like on the river and like we have to figure out what's not in the range, it's always based on the turn play. So which hand is going to bet the turn? It's not so bad.
Well, queens is I think slightly more likely to bet the turn than kings.
Right.
Just
Yeah, we discussed that, right, with the club thing.
Would you not bet? Wouldn't 7-6 might be not within range? I don't know. I'm starting to get that feeling, but
Do you have a good reason for that?
Well, a lot of times in these flops, we see bet the top card and the low card and check back more with the middle card. Not all the time, but
well, we're not checking back, right? We're out of.
I think pair plus backdoor on the flop, you could sometimes check out of position, betting like more nutted hands and some other hands, small frequency that are bluffs. And then on the turn, 7-6 would check, I think, as well, maybe.
Yep. Agreed.
Okay. And then we get to the river.
Well, what do you think is not in the?
I think the not within range is the big bet on the flop with 7-6, maybe.
I think. So we've already remember
all these hands bet the flop here.
Yeah, it's always the turn. It's always the turn.
Oh, right. Okay.
Because you can do all sorts of stuff on the flop.
Well, second pair, good kicker would bet with some frequency on the turn for protection.
I actually think that. So remember before we were deciding like on the turn, like there's these hands, and you're gonna decide you're gonna bet one and then check the other one. I think that like 7-6 is like it's great to bet it now, like 15 big blinds or 20 big blinds or something like that.
Yeah, no,
With
yeah,
a,
I think
with a
7-6.
7-6.
Yeah, I think 7-6 would bet turn. That's my not
Yeah.
within range idea.
Yeah, and it's gonna hopefully he doesn't get raised, right? But like
I have a
like
general
the 7-6.
heuristic.
Sorry.
I have like a simplification or heuristic where like second pair. I don't know about that kicker, but yeah, I would like definitely bet that on the turn.
Well, you're
Well-
gonna want wait, what? Like just
Well-
bet second pair?
Second pair top kickers get bet a lot, for instance, but maybe this kicker.
So the reason I'm thinking is like what does villain have in his calling range on the flop? And it's like obviously tens. But also he's got like ace queen, which we discussed before, like all sorts of I'm gonna flip to his range. So he's got like ace queen, he's got some maybe ace jack, king queen, especially with the backdoors. He's got that type of stuff, right? So 6-7 or 7-6 rather makes it makes a good nice like little equity denial bet, like if you go for like quarter pot or something, so that those hands have to pay it if they want to hit their 6 outs, and then you've got 5 outs yourself. I think
Yeah.
fives has got the set and the 3, so like is that 6 outs? So maybe fives is actually slightly better. I mean the 7-6 blocks the
Gutter or what? Never mind.
there's no better. The 7-6 blocks the him having a 6, which exists, right? He's got 7-6, he's got 6-5. Like
What about something like 8-9 of clubs? Would it ever make a difference?
if he has 8-9 of clubs, 9-8 of clubs.
Yeah.
If he has 9-8 of clubs, which hand of these do you think blocks 9-8 of clubs?
Because so here on the turn, 8-7's got 8 outs to make a straight.
Yeah. 8-7 is oh.
Yeah, there's some like of that there, right?
Eight, 7. So if he has 8-7, he's definitely going to call the flop. And he would definitely call you with 8-7.
Yeah.
You bet, especially with clubs. So
Right.
You block 7-6 blocks that call, but 5s doesn't. So 5 should bet the turn, and it's got 6 outs instead of 5.
Good point.
Fives also picked up equity on the turn.
Yeah, exactly. Fives has like, well, I mean 7-6 already had that equity, but
And it unblocks bluffs.
sorry.
And it unblocks bluffs.
When did villain ever bluff? Like I mean, like
Yeah.
you're trying to block full. You're trying to like
All right,
block
so
calls.
you guys have to. Okay, so 7-6 always bets the turn. So you got to think about what hands you block.
7-6 always bets the turn. Yeah.
Yeah, we just got to think about which hands you're going to block that will check back. All right, and vice versa, which hands you block. So like
So
you've got this hand, you've got a decision to either bet it now as like a semi bluff, or well, it's not really semi bluff actually, just for I guess for value, betting it now for value or checking it and then betting the river. All right, if you check this hand, do you want your opponent to bet? No, right? You want your opponent to check back. So if we have 7-6 here on the turn, which hands for our opponent are going to check back a lot on the turn? So
All
they're,
his
they're,
6x
they're
are
going
going to
to check back a lot of 6x, right? They might even check back their set of 6s. They're going to check back 8-7 because it doesn't want to get jammed on. So it's the same idea as not putting your flush draws into spots where they're going to get jammed on. Right. So
Yeah.
so like the high equity draw, the 8-7 is not going to bet. So like you end up blocking all these hands that will check back. So your opponent's going to be betting into you more often. So here with this hand, we just bet it ourselves, right? If we bet ourselves, we get called by those flush draws, right?
Mm-hmm.
We get called by the 8-7, and we also get called by like our opponent's weak pocket pairs, which they do have all the way down here. All right, so that's not within range. All right, now the river.
All right.
I'm getting weird vibes about 5-5, like betting or checking. Maybe I'm solely off, but like, isn't there some straight blocking? Not blocking. No, never mind. Never gonna call with 3-5 to 3-bet, 5-7. Maybe no.
We discussed that he's going to check back his flush draws, right?
Right.
On the turn. So if he checks back his flush draws on the turn, then he's going to bluff them on the river. Or might bluff them on the river, right? It's very what I'm saying is it's very reasonable for him to have clubs.
When you want to check the kings back because you block the backdoor or you block the flush draws from being missed, so maybe he has something more on the board, something like that. No.
But you're trying to decide between like check raising and betting, right?
All right. So what hand calls this and then checks down from your opponent?
For villain, ace queen.
Okay, so we've got queens. So what does that mean?
That he's less likely to have ace queen. So he's gonna bet when we block ace queen.
So what do we
can
want to
check
do with queens?
Check it.
Good. All right.
Yeah. Okay.
Can you repeat that? I feel like I lost just that last point of why we check queens. Like,
okay, so I can do it for you.
Thank you. Appreciate it. I'm slow.
Okay. Yeah. No worries. So we discussed that he's gonna. So what's gonna happen on the flop, right? We bet 3/4 pot on the flop.
Yeah, seems reasonable. Okay.
And then he's gonna call ace queen. But he doesn't have ace.
Okay.
He doesn't have ace king. Well, he needs to have some overcards. So remember on 10-6 deuce when the ace comes on the turn?
Something. Okay.
No. When the ace comes on the turn, right? The ace is super good for us. So that makes when he has an ace, it makes his EV like crazy high. So he's gonna need some ace.
Okay.
Right, because we have a lot of ace X.
Right in our range, more so because he capped and we.
He has ace queen, so he has ace queen, right? But he does not have ace. He does not have ace king, right?
Because he would four bet that, right? Mostly.
Right on. So if he has ace queen, he's gonna call the flop, and then when we check, he's gonna check back ace queen, right? Hopefully get into showdown, be good with his high cards, right?
Right.
So you block ace queen.
So he has more of the. Oh yeah. Okay, that's pretty sick. Okay, that's a good reason to do it. Okay. Nice, man.
Yeah, this is the type of thing where I'm talking about where like just because hands seem similar in strength, right? Like jacks, queens, kings are like basically about the same EV or about the same thing.
Super blocking his air range, man.
Yeah. You want to be like parsing like or you want to be parsing your strategy or like dividing your strategy based on your blocks to make him do what you want to do, right? And like this adds sure it adds small amounts of EV, but poker is literally about because like you guys all get down approximately the same hands, right? So poker is all about properly parsing your range into the appropriate sections so that they extract the most EV. So like extra 1 BB is huge, right? In EV.
Yeah. No, that was really cool. I never think that far ahead like that, man. Like
yeah.
All right.
So like obviously you want to not do egregious blunders, but
that's interesting. Yeah. Okay.
So queens is going to check. Or Thomas, I explained that thoroughly enough, right?
Wouldn't
Okay,
kings
yeah,
then
that's
better
good.
check and fives just bet, or is it flipped?
Sorry.
Like I
So
thought maybe fives block some nuts so we could like bluff with it quite well and then show down value with
you actually
king
don't need.
X because you
You
block
fives. You
backdoor
actually don't need to bluff your
clubs.
fold. Fives
So we might
wouldn't be.
have like a 4x hand or a.
So you have to think about like what the ranges are from preflop, right? And like, is he going to have a lot? So if he actually doesn't have any.
Oh, he
fours.
doesn't have many fours. Yeah, sorry.
Right,
Pocket
right.
fours? No, he wouldn't. He call flop with those and then hit a set.
Nah, no way, no way,
Not a
no
big
way.
bet. Never. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, makes sense.
Right. So Thomas, can you go back to the question? Yeah. So So like, there's almost no like ace four, right? Because he's going to fold the flop. I mean, he you know, and also there's just so few fours in his range. Like he's got 5-4 a little bit, but like
Okay.
not enough because he's gonna fold
Okay,
the
just
flop.
that one club I thought might be the reason we can bet or check it. But
Um,
and then fives would be nutted and we could always bluff it. Or
you're
fives
not
block nuts.
you're not bluffing fives if you're betting it, right?
It's not a
Because
bluff.
I actually think that fives is
Really?
gonna. Yeah, it's not. No,
I think it's
no.
merged. Or I think it's some kind of bluff,
Do you,
man.
do you think you could bet like 10% or 15% or 20% pot with the fives and get called by like his ace queen, ace jack? You think you go for some 2% value? Because when you bet out of position, you actually don't even need to be good more than half the time.
You think 3-bet pot, they're going to bluff catch with that there for a quarter pot? Well, no, like I'm not them. Let's say the solver, sorry.
Yeah, it might.
He would?
Yeah, it could.
Wow.
Because you could have 8-7 here, right?
Okay.
Which would bluff for a small size, hoping to get him to fold his king, queen, king, jack. So it's going to have to call its ace, queen, ace, jack. So I think that fives will bet small, and then kings can better check.
Okay. I think those are good arguments, man. Like,
Why do you want to check kings?
Yeah, I was just about to retract it because he doesn't have any ace king. And if you bet or if you check, he would bluff his king queen, at least some of the time, right? Get king queen, king jack, king queen, king jack. So like,
So
it doesn't have that.
can you
so
get
if he's
any better
bluffing
hands
king,
to
queen,
fold
king,
with
jack.
fives?
Sorry.
So if he's bluffing king queen and king jack,
Yeah, you block those.
yeah. So we block his betting range when we check. So that's not good for us.
Right? Yeah, so we want to bet it ourselves.
So we want to bet it ourselves.
Yeah, so fives, like it's tough because fives, you'd be surprised. Like you could bet thinner than you'd think often, right? So like if you bet fives, super small, like quarter pot, right? And he calls ace queen ace jack, or you can check and like then he'll check back some of the time and be good.
I feel like I'm super solid on 2 of the answers, but I'm always like that though. Okay.
All right, so there's fives.
So what happens when you bet fives?
Betting 1/10 of the pot there.
Yeah, okay, very small. Okay, so you bet
of the pot, and then they always call with their ace queen.
Oh, what a gut wrenching bet.
And what else? He also calls some stuff that beats your fives, but that's fine because you're out of position, right?
Yeah, because the thing is, if you check, he's going to bet those hands anyway.
Yeah, for even bigger, so you lose more, right?
Yeah, yeah. That's the idea. So he if you bet 1/10 of the pot, sure you give 1/10 of the pot to like his stronger pocket pairs, but you get that back from his ace high. All right, which ends up being the same as if you check and then he checks back ace high. So you win a bit of EV from his ace high, but you give that to his pocket pairs, right? And any hand that's like top pair better will always bet into you. If you check, and always raise if you bet 1/10 of the pot. The real difference is just these king high, queen high, which ends up folding. You bet 1/10 of the pot, which is nice. Because if you check and those hands will bet into you, and then you're going to have to fold. Well, there you go. You call. Probably because of your blockers, right? All right. Yeah. Any questions about the fives?
Can you actually go back to that range viewer and look at the different kings and and show and explain like what makes different kings? Okay, I just wanted to see that view for myself here. So that king with
Well, they're all the same.
they're all the same. Okay, but look, we have the club. It's obviously a bit worse though, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think you're overvaluing the effect of the club. Like when you've got a strong hand,
Oh, I know. I'm
like
yeah.
its
Okay,
blockers
you're right.
don't actually matter as much unless like you block a
It's like a
good
thousands of
chunk
an
of their
EV.
range.
Yeah.
Yeah, so like here the queen, the pocket queens, pocket aces, because these pocket queens and pocket aces strongly block his ace queen, which is going to be the bulk of his check back range, right? Like if we look at the check back range, it's just all ace queen. Gonna be ace queen like half the time, right? More than half the
Yeah,
time.
I overvalued that club.
So blocking ace queen is really nice. So if you got aces or queens, you will do well to check that
Check.
here. All right.
Yeah.
So in these 3-bet pots, in spots where like you think your opponent's check down range is going to be exclusively ace queen, you can use your queens the same way as you would aces, right? By checking it. Okay. Yeah.
That was a really good one. That was like one of my favorite quiz ones so far.
All right. So this one.
Oh damn. All right. Bet, get raised, call. Huh? So the not in range is going to be what we don't call.
Yep. So it's still going to be what you don't call here.
Okay. So 10-9 calls for sure. Oh, I think that his okay.
All right. So which of these hands doesn't call this raise?
Feels so 5-4 only really has a 3. It only has a gutter. And so you're calling 19 big blinds to win 24 and
81.
huh?
81 is here.
Yeah, that seems like lighting money on fire. Whereas at least with ace queen and ace jack, you actually block some tens. In fact, you block a lot of them. Yeah, so I think that calling 19 big blinds to win, 17 big blinds to win 81. You need to be good 21% of the time. You just don't have it. So I think you're going to fold. Sorry, E2. Yeah, it's still 21. I think you're going to have to fold 5-4. So you can't call with 5-4, so 5-4 is not in the range. Ace queen and ace jack at least have 6 outs.
All right. What do you think he could be bluffing you with in terms of bluff raise?
Bluff raise?
Yeah.
Back flush draws.
I think it's like 9-8, 8-7. That's most of it. Jack 9. Jack 9.
That can't be enough.
Queen jack. Oh, did I hit the nail on the coffin with queen jack? Queen jack. Queen jack, jack 9, 9-8, 8-7. Right? So
I think 5-4 is not within range. No.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to argue for. And so like Queen Jack, Jack 9, 9 8, 8 7, Ace Queen and Ace Jack beat all those guys. So you beat the bluffs at least, and 5 4 like you don't even beat the bluffs.
You block his bluffs.
What do you think he's gonna bluff? Oh, I guess you could have like Ace 4 of. No, he's not gonna do the heart ones. He's gonna do the diamonds and clubs and spade ones.
Yeah, backdoor flushes. Yeah.
So I think you're not. Well, you're unblocking them with all the heart ones. So yeah, I strongly do think that calling the 5 4 is not a good play.
It's got to be. It looks like
So
a massive punt to me.
5 4 not in range.
So you've got two streets here. So if you call 5 4, you can check back a turn. You can bluff the river.
Okay, but like,
What's
wouldn't
your
you
best
not?
bluff?
Well, like, I have a huge problem with like, boom, we're wrong, but like, doesn't it seem not fun to call in order to bluff later? Like, can't you just call hands that have higher equity and then bluff those ones?
Like more of a semi bluff?
No. So like let's imagine that there was no like equity type things in this game, and it was just like either your hand's good or it's not. Like you have to, if you have to call some things in order so you can bluff them later type of thing. But like, couldn't you just call with your ace queen, ace jack, and then maybe bluff those later? I don't see. You know what I mean?
I think that's a sketchier plan though, somehow.
Right. Like, um,
Because you like block their like, you unblock their air, or I don't know. Like I think on the flop it blocks a lot of the 10.
so like, yeah, like I get that. So like, I was also thinking like, at the very least, the ace queen and ace jack, they block the jack 10, queen 10, ace 10, right? Blocks those ones, and it doesn't block his 9 8, his 8 7. I mean, it blocks a little bit of his jack 9 and queen jack, but 5 4 on the other hand, like, it unblocks those. But I think it's just so much harder to, like, obviously I'm wrong. But
I think you're thinking. I don't know. Some sounds like you're thinking about playability really more so than some other things.
What do you mean by playability?
Like you say something sounds weird to do, or like kind of thing.
Well,
Like you'd rather do something because of X reason.
How different is the 5 4 and the 10 9 here compared to like here? Is it very different to what's going on here based on what's going on here on the flop?
so it'd be the same as if he called he called, we checked, and then he bets 15. Like, that's pretty similar, right? Because 17 and 15 aren't that much different. There's a really small raise, but didn't we have a 7? That's the difference. That we had a 7 to help us get our open ender.
Yeah, but here on the flop, you don't know what the 10 card is, right? It could be anything. It could be a 7, it could be the 3, it could be a 4 or a 5, right? It could be an 8. Like you here, like how many open enders do you get on the turn, right? You get a 7, right? You also get the 8 that gives you an open ender. The 3 gives you the straight, right? The 4 and the 5 give you backdoor
that's
trips,
more than
right?
that's more than I gave it credit for. Okay, so I'm starting to see it, but my instinct was off, I guess. So between ace queen and ace jack, you don't want to block his bluffs, and I think he's bluffing queen jack and jack nine. So I want to. You don't want to block those bluffs. You got to fold ace jack, because ace queen, at least it only blocks one, the queen jack, not both the queen jack and the jack nine.
All right. I mean, none of these hands are folding the flop.
Oh boy, we're 3-betting.
Yeah. Okay. So we threw about 10-9. All right. So you just jam 10-9 here.
Damn. So okay, I see the point. Yeah.
Because there
Okay.
needs protection a lot, or is it just a good?
No. I can explain it. Ready? He doesn't have queens. He doesn't have jacks plus, right?
Yeah. Okay.
Because he 4-bets. So all he has is he doesn't even have ace 10 off. All he has is a little bit of tens, which we block, some jack 10, queen 10, king 10, and ace 10. And sure, it kind of sucks that we lose to them, right? Like it sucks. I'll be honest. It sucks if he calls and has queen 10, right? Like we're trying to 3-outs, but like we block that hand. We block that continue. It's like a weird mergey sort of like we only have 40% when called, but you know it's still worth it because there's so much in the pot. Is that the same sort of idea? That's what he was referring to on the previous, based on the previous question, not the fact that we don't know. So I think that we've talked enough about that. On the queen, so it doesn't really improve his bluffs. All it really improves him is queen jack and queen 10. So I'm tempted to say, based on our 3-bet range, that the queen is great for us. So we might even donk. Okay, obviously we don't.
Yeah, that's what that's what you're being asked here.
Yeah, so so I would like to donk. All right, so 5-4 and ace jack have the same like gut shot, right? But ace jack is better. Okay, I think we do bet ace queen. Oh wait a minute. The reason I thought we would is because like the whole point of calling was that we might hit our over and we can bet it, right? So we need to just look at his range to see what we block. And it looks like we block queen jack, whatever, it's fine. We don't block jack 9, that calls. 9-8, now it's double gutter, so it calls. 8-7. I don't know what he does with 8-7, but he doesn't have that much. But his value is like a 10, and that'll. Yeah, I want to bet ace queen.
Yep.
Nice. Okay, and now let's think about ace jack and 5-4, right? What are we basically forced to check? And so he would have raised with some tens, like jack 10, queen 10, king 10, ace 10. So ace jack blocks those. But he's already called. Whereas 5-4 literally only has a gut shot to it. Whereas ace jack at least has an ace and a. Okay, I think that 5-4 is a give up. I don't think it doesn't. I think it just doesn't have enough equity to continue to bluff it, and so ace jack is better check.
It seems weird to just donk. Yeah, 5-4.
Yeah, so you donk on cards that are good for you and bad for him, right?
mean,
All
he's
right,
jacking
so
flop more than-
let's have a look at that 5-4. So here bet raise. So this is the raising range. Right, so it's like top pair. I mean, it's not raising any sets. It's like top pair and some other crap. Like he knows he's going to get jammed on a lot, right? He's getting jammed on like 25% of the time. Essentially, like these two are basically just all ins. There's no real difference between the two in terms of
Between which
strategy
ones?
between the, like this size here 50% and all in for 73.2%.
Yeah.
It's the same. All right, so like against here, like we can have a look at. I think GTR Plus now has the ability to do the turn reports for a specific hand. So I put in the 5-4 of hearts. All right, and now we can look at the EV of 5-4 of hearts on each of these turn cards. All right,
And
so
shit, all
Yeah, it's garbage.
sorry.
Pulls it right out of Flopzilla. It looks like the Flopzilla heat map. It doesn't have good equity. It has garbage equity on a lot of turn cards, right?
Yeah. Okay. So like this is the EV. So we need like
Our EV,
when
sir.
we're facing this flop raise, we're going to call 16.8. Okay, and then we have to figure out how to get 16.8 blinds in EV from the rest of the turn cards that could possibly run out. Okay, so like when the 3 comes, it completes our straight on the turn. Right, our EV is going to be really high. It's going to be higher than the size of the pot. Okay, because we've made the absolute nuts there, right? Okay, so if there are EVs roughly 120. Let's calculate it out. It's going to be 120, and that happens 4 out of the 47 times, right? Because it's 47 different turn cards that there can be. Okay, so that's already 10 out of our 16.8 blinds that we need. Okay.
Yeah.
To call the raise on the flop. Now,
Yeah.
out of the rest of it, like if a 5 or a 4 comes, right, suddenly we've made a pair. Sometimes that'll check down and win a showdown, right?
Yeah.
So that's 20 blinds, right? So that's nice. It's not enough alone, but with the gut shot, it becomes pretty nice. All right. So I guess we could say that's like 20
That's like
blinds times 6 over 47. All right, so that's making a pair. So that's an extra 2.5 blinds on average. And now the rest of it, okay,
comes on the turn.
comes from if it checks through on the turn, then we make our straight on the
3 on the river.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, and the rest of it, let's just say it's roughly 5, maybe 6. Let's just go with 5. So it's going to be 5 blinds times how many are there now? 37, 47. Okay, so this. So we got 3.9 plus this here. Who's going to do this? Control C.
I can just do it for you if you want. 10.21 plus 2.55 plus 3.93. Yeah, it's. Oops.
There you go, 16.7. Already 16.8. So maybe our math was off by a little bit, but you can see that it's really close, right? And here against the raise, like even the solver thinks the EV is close. Like the solver thinks that calling is only 0.7 of a blind.
Wow.
To call, right? And that's because it can see across all those different turns and rivers that you do just have enough draw equity in order to meet the small raise. All right.
Yeah, I think that with higher rake environments, it's a fold though.
Oh yeah. I would agree.
I mean, we already hit the rate cap here in this one, in the sim here.
Yeah.
Oh, we hit the rate cap.
Yeah, I mean we hit the rate cap after we threw bet. Okay.
The rake cap here is 20 big ones. Like 5% to 1 is, so it's capped at 20 big when the pot's reached just 20 big blinds, right?
Yeah, so all the rakes already been taken out here. All right, next question. All right, and then yeah, the 10-9 here on the flop, it just rips it.
Well, isn't rate kind of negligible post flop more as a impact pre-flop?
Well, it depends what the rake, whether you've hit the rake cap or not. So like here in all the 3-bet pots with 5% capped at 1, like the rake cap's already been hit, so there's
It's an
no
easy
more
game.
rake. But like when the rake cap is like 8 big blinds or whatever, something ridiculous, then you're still having to pay rake post flop. So that's going to change the strategy for both players. Like usually when there's post flop rake still, like both players become a bit more passive until you hit the rate cap, and then both players go kind of nuts. So that's why like these 3-bet pot sims are really aggressive, because both players have already hit the rate cap. You can just do whatever.
Okay.
All right. So this one here, 75, 50, and now we're going to decide whether or not to bet our remaining 40 big blinds into 120.
All right, so not in the range. Let's go with that one first. I can see ace-9 doing it on the flop. I cannot see it doing it on the turn. Like, I'd rather do it with like ace-6. Oh, wait, this is small blind versus big versus button. Give me a sec. Yeah, I'd much rather do it with ace-6 suited than ace-9 suited.
But you can't have a 6 suited of diamonds, okay?
Sorry? No, that's not my point. My point is, like, I'm saying that I ace-9 not in range.
Okay.
Because I don't think you would bet. I think that ace-9 just, it's not going to... So the whole point of this line, right, is to go 3/4 on the flop, half on the turn, and then jam the river, or like maybe check call the river, right? And so, like, when are you ever going to be able to check call or jam the river yourself with ace-9 on an ace? That's just not enough. You might not even be good.
Yeah, it seems like...
I tend to agree with that.
So I want to not within range ace-9.
Yeah, I tend to agree with that.
Well, the rest of them can bet turn, right? Yeah.
All right, and any other hands that might not be within range?
Well, ace-9 for sure.
Like ace-jack seems fine.
What
The only
about
thing-
10-9 checking turn? Would it ever
Right,
do that?
Is this jack really good for you, or bad for you? Or is it like
probably
in between?
The jack is...
So you have more jacks in his capped range?
He has a lot of jacks. He's got queen jack, king jack, ace jack, jack 10, jack 9. He has a lot of jacks.
They call this bet, do they?
Huh?
And they all call this bet here?
A lot of them would.
And what about your jacks?
Your jacks are pocket jacks, queen jack, king jack, ace jack, and some offsuit stuff too. Some offsuit jacks. I'm gonna say that like it's mediocre because it improves a lot of your bluffs or some of your bluffs, but you know you both have those jacks, so I think it's mediocre for you.
So you think like it's pretty split, the EV or the
Like how good is the jack? I think the jack is all right.
Is it better for us or better for him?
I think it's like around the same, which would lead us to check more because of the 50% rule.
Oh, okay, yeah. I like checking more on that jack.
With which hands? Do you want to check 10-9? Do you want to check 10-9 so that you could call?
Yeah, I do. I do want to check 10-9.
So why do you want to? The only like I think so. I agree, but like the problem is like ace-9, having so much trouble betting it for half pot. Okay, like the EV of betting half pot ace-9 cannot be very high.
All right, so you always need to compare it between betting and checking. So if you check ace-9, well, what happens?
Give up.
Yeah, my intention is to give up.
Okay, great. So do we want our opponent to bet into us or check?
Check.
Okay, and does this hand block bets or does it block checks?
It blocks his ace-queen check. Oh, maybe ace-queen doesn't check. Yeah, maybe ace-queen doesn't check.
Well, it
His
has
non-
STV, but it has the gutter. Is that what you mean? Or maybe I'm just...
the jack makes it have like less showdown value also, right? Like ace queen doesn't beat a whole lot of ace high anymore. It
Yeah,
beats
you have like no STV maybe, so it's like...
so ace.
I mean, ace queen still beats a lot of ace high. I don't know what you're talking about. You've got a lot of ace high here.
Yeah, I just have STV, man.
Anyway, so you block ace queen. You also block the pair of nines. You block 9-8. And all of those hands will check back. So like this particular hand, you end up blocking a fair amount of check backs. So would it be unreasonable to bet this hand some of the time?
Not crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, it feels.
So it seems fine to me. Because like the alternative is going to have a really low EV, right? You're comparing either a low EV to bet or a really low EV to check. So like when you're comparing one to the other and making a decision that way, not unreasonable to just bet it as a bluff now, right? Because the alternative checking is still pretty bad.
Okay, and that's the case, then like 10-9, because like ace jack can definitely bet. Turn.
I mean, 10-9's a good 10-9's got the same blocker that we're talking about with the 9.
With what?
With a 9, right? It's got the same blocker.
It does, but the ace blocker was the main we were considering with ace-9.
Well, I mean, you want to have the ace blocker or the 9 blocker. With the 10's got a 10 blocker, and I mean their 10 might check back as well, but
yeah. So the 10 will.
Definitely having the 9 blocker isn't great. So like all these hands will sometimes bet, will at least sometimes bet. So like you got to think about what's going on here.
What size? Yeah. So you got a quarter pot and a half pot, right?
Yeah. What else could you have?
Check.
Yeah. So what's your stack here?
70. You can just jam.
Yeah. Okay. So you got alternative sizes here, right? So you might want to jam one of these hands instead.
Probably jam ace jack as opposed to jack 10. Okay, let's think about which one you would actually do. Jack 10 blocks the 10 and the jack, whereas ace jack just blocks the jack. And he's going to have to call a 10 if you jam on him. So you don't want to block the 10 call. So yeah, you jam ace jack.
Great. I mean, ace jack blocks folds with his ace queen, so that's an even better jam, right? When you got the ace, he's got ace queen. You've blocked that, so he's less likely to fold when you go all in.
Okay,
All right,
so on the river. So I think I'm sort of getting the hang of this, or at least I hope I am. That he would have to bet the jack, and he would have to bet the 10, right? Like yeah, he's got some like king queen maybe.
This one confused me.
Sorry.
This one really confused me. But
Yeah, so he's got some king queen and some 8-7, and that gets there, but yeah, all right. The main thing, like you're gonna lose all your money with jack 10 anyways. So he's gonna have to bet at least all of his jack, right? You block that, the jack 10. So if you block his bet, you need to bet it yourself. Ten-9, he's gonna bet his jack for you, so you can check the 10-9. And that leaves me in a spot with ace-9 where I don't know what to do. So maybe we should figure out what ace-9 wants to do first.
it seems like you would check.
You would check ace-9, you think? The problem with checking ace-9 is that he's going to bet his jack and his 10, and you're gonna have to, and you might have to call it.
Seems like you block airs and draws.
So like, what's he going to bluff? You check. He is going to bluff that.
I mean, there's better. If you have to think about what bets, like there's two decent hands and one that blocks airs.
So what would he bluff if we check to him? I think he might have to bluff a. No, that's crazy. He can't.
I don't know why. It might not be like, I might not be thinking too far ahead of it, but it seems like ace-9 checks, 10-9 better check, and jack-10 bet.
No. So you got to think about, so like which hand. So jack 10 and 10-9 want to get the money in, right?
Yes, I want to bet.
No. But so there's two ways to get the money in, right? Either we bet and he calls, or we check and he bets, right?
No, yeah.
You got to think about, you got to parse it into the proper one. So what's
So
he
that's
gonna
why
bet?
you should check ace-9 so that, or he bets his. You know, I guess if you.
No, that's bad. If we check our ace-9 and he bets his jack and 10, then we don't want that.
Yeah, but I also think betting it's bad because it just like unblocks all the bluffs or like the missed things, or and you have some SDV
With ace-9.
Yeah. Queen jack. I don't know. It's not really good, but
Yeah, I don't know what to do with Yeah, I don't know what to do with I don't know what to do with the ace-9. So I suppose what we do is we just look at ace-9 and say, okay, what was he going to do with ace-queen on the turn?
I think with bottom two pair we can do more checking. So better check. I mean, 10-9 can better check. Jack 10 can bet, and ace-9 can check. But like, I don't.
Yeah, so like that was close to what I said, but I just ended up with ace-9 better check. 10-9 I want to check, so he would bet the jack. But he's also going to bet the 10. So 10-9 is probably better check, okay? Because it could do both. It could like make him
Yeah, I
bet the
could check or bet or
it
bet.
could make him
But
make him
like the top two pairs want to bet, like, I think more. But you know, if you bet 10-9, he has more jack to call. If you bet 10 jack, he's got like nothing really to call. So you'd want to check and trap.
You don't need to worry about him.
That's why I think you can better.
You don't need to worry about him betting him calling the jack, because he's just going to bet the jack for you, right? If he has ace jack, right?
I might have confused myself with something or thought of something different. But
if he has queen jack and you have 10-9, you can just check, he'll bet, and you call.
yeah, I like the 10-9 more for checking than I like jack 10 for checking, because he has a jack he can call it. Oh,
Yeah, you're on the right track. So we want to bet this hand because
Yeah.
we end up blocking hands that he would bet if we
Yes.
check.
Yeah, you need to hope he bluff catches you. Yeah.
All right. So if we check, he's going to be checking back a 9. What kind of 9s does he have? Well, he's only really got 9-8, doesn't he?
Yeah. So you got to.
But I mean, 9-8 is enough, all right? And we block, one combination of that, and blocking the check back range means that we also end up unblocking some hands that will bluff into us, namely the ace queen, right, which can call here. Okay, so we can better check this hand, and this hand is just not really strong enough to bet for value. Okay, it's not even strong enough to block, right? Like a tenth of the pot. So like we just check it and then hope that they check back with
nice.
a pair of 8s or something. All right, so this is it here. All right, so this is what's going on the turn. You've got this ace jack, which suddenly appeared, new top pair, top kicker. All right, and those hands can just jam, right? All this new top pair can just rip it in.
Yeah.
So it's not really necessary to have that in this betting range. It's not really necessary to have it in the checking range, because you can have other stuff instead, right? You can have the sets, right? You've got the 10s and the jacks there. They can just check, and then they'll really do well at protecting it. But a lot of checking range is going to be like ace high. So the checking range, ace high, weak pairs, and then some traps. Okay. Now, in terms of the hands that will just want to bet and then bet the river, right, it's mainly going to be these overpairs. The reason being is because they unblock hands from your opponent's range that'll call both streets. All right. And they don't quite need as much protection as the other hands do. You got Jack 10, like if you've got queens or kings, like you can just bet. All right, and then they're just going to call with a 10. They're going to jam into you with their top pair, right? And then on a lot of different river cards, you're just going to go all in the river, and then they're just going to call because of your blocker effects, right? Here, if they call ace queen or king queen, right, and the river's like a 3, right, you're going to go all in, and then you quite heavily block their folds with kings and queens. Queens in particular blocking ace queen, and kings blocking king queen, right? So you get called a lot. So that's why the kings and queens like to take this line, and aces for a similar reason, blocking the ace queen, right? You can just take the line where you bet 50% here and then jam the river, because your opponent will be forced to float some hands. They'll then fold, right? This ace queen here, calling the turn, and then on the river fold them. So when you've got kings and queens, you end up making a good chunk of EV by just jamming the river, and he's forced to fold out, you end up blocking a lot of those folds, right? Blocking folds means that you're getting called more often by the worse hands. What else is there? Yeah, so middle pair, so like here you've got ace 10, like it's the same kind of thing with the ace 10. Like if you just check, right, the jack is going to bet into you. So if you got ace 10, you can just rip it in yourself, right? They actually don't have too much top pair, too much king jack or queen jack, right? And they definitely do have a lot of worse hands. So when out of position here with the ace 10, specifically with our ace blocker, right? Because if we were to bet half pot, what ends up happening to us? Half pot, call. Ace 10 isn't even there because we jammed it already. We jam now, and then we kind of block a little bit of folds with the ace high. It's not too bad. I'm starting to ramble, I think. Yeah, king 10, jack 10, yeah, ace 10. So like these strong hands with a lot of equity, we'll just rip it in right on here on the turn. But these sort of strong but not so strong hand, these like middle pair like king 10, they can just bet here as like a block, because if they were to check, right, all the jacks are going to, all the new top pairs are going to bet anyway, right? So at least if you block here on the turn, you get called by these worse hands, right? Definitely all these worse top pairs, and then like a little bit ace high, a little bit of these lower pocket pairs. But if you check, that doesn't really happen, and then again check. Now you've kind of missed out on your opportunity to get all the money on the river. It's a little bit more difficult. Of course, you can still just rip it in, but you end up making more EV by betting across two streets rather than just the one. All right, with the king 10 there. So with the king 10, like here, if you bet the half pot and then like they just call, right, on so many different rivers, you're going to be really happy just to get it in because you're going to be ahead. But if you check, right, they end up betting into you with all of those new top pairs, and then you got the jam, right? Because stack to bar ratio was what, like, there's only like 40 blinds left, so it's not really, or if they bet small, there you go, there's the king 10. So it explains like the king 10, the jack 10, king 10, main one there. They're 10, 9 as well. So that explains what we're doing with king 10. So here on the turn, like if we've got king 10, we can just bet it to kind of block and also get value from worse. All right, and that's kind of the definition. Like if he's got a jack, he's going to jam into us here on the turn, right? So when he just calls, right, whatever the river is, we know that our king 10 is going to be essentially, you could think of it as top pair, top picker now, because if he had a jack, it would have jammed into us. So with the remaining 40 blinds, we can happily value bet a lot of different rivers. So if we've got king 10, we can take that line like that. The same as like the kings and the queens. The kings and the queens do that a little bit more effectively because it can, because they also beat these jams here on the turn. Right, rather than being in terms of like the EV here. 17 versus 120. So it's a bit about like deciding which bet size you want to use here on the turn, right? We can either go all in, or we can bet this size. Like if we've got queens, right? If we bet this size and then face a jam, we're pretty happy to call. But if we've got jack 10, sorry, if we've got like ace 10, if we've got ace jack, not quite as much. I mean, ace jack is still pretty good, but not quite as much. So we end up preferring instead to just jam it ourselves, rather than betting the size and then calling the all-in. So like this is always like the thing that you've got to worry about when you're making these different bet sizes, right? Is is it possible for our opponent to just go all in on top of our bet when the stack pot ratio is really low? And it's going to happen on a lot of different turn cards, especially with other cards. Like say, for example, here, the king, like here we're betting everything, but like it's going to get jammed on a lot, right? That's the king. Maybe the ace. Yeah, I think we already discussed the ace in a different one. Oh no, we didn't. Did we discuss the ace? We might have discussed the ace of diamonds. Yeah. The two different bet sizes there, right? If we bet small and then we get raised, okay, we get rejam. Bet big and we get jammed on, like we have to decide. So like we kind of want to make up our mind about entire range, check bet. Depending on what the turn card is, we kind of want to make up our mind about what our betting range is going to look like. Especially when we've got the two different sizes. Which ones are going to have two different sizes? King of spades, king of clubs, queen of clubs, queen of diamonds. Alright, so look at them. It's like a queen of diamonds here. You've got two different sizes, the all-in size and just like the half pot size, right? Yeah, and so the new top pair can just rip it. The top pair just rips it. Right, that's nice because like betting half pot and then getting jammed on itself is not quite as nice as just going all in itself, right? But like if you've got aces, instead you can go half pot and then snap off this all in because you end up unblocking your opponent's jams with their new top pair, right? And the same can be said about the other over pairs, like there's kings a little bit as well. There's queens, like king of spades. Right, same kind of deal. Right, jamming the queens there. Just get the value from these worse hands, right? When stack power ratio gets really low and you're out of position, you can just push your equity into your opponent. Like here with your queens, right? You've got a pocket pair that's weaker than the new top pair, but stronger than the old top pair, right? And it's kind of like you can just rip it. Because your opponent actually doesn't have a lot of the new top pair. They've got a bit of king queen and queen jack. King queen you heavily block when you've got queens, right? And then so you're only really worried about king jack. And then in terms of the calling range, it's just a bunch of crap that you just beat, right? But on the other hand, when you want to go half pot instead, right, you get jammed on by the new top pair. Right, so you snap call with some of these really strong hands that just crush the new top pair, right? The ace is the ace king, right? The kings obviously. Okay, so like when you're out of position, the stack pot ratio is around 1. Sometimes you can split your range like this. Okay, specifically when these new top pairs come up. Anyway, so yeah, there's a bit of comparison between. I think that's the end of it. Hopefully we put it all in right.
Right on.
So there's a bit of a comparison between the two different spots. We got big blind versus cutoff as the first half we looked at. If you came here late, you can just watch the recording. And then the small one was the button. All right, and it's all in the same flop, 10-6-2. And you can have a bit of a think about what the differences are in the ranges. Right, big blind versus cutoff. Big blind's going to be a lot more polar, and the cutoff is going to be a lot more merged. And the cutoff's range is going to be frankly, it's just going to be stronger, right? Because the cutoff was tighter open and it called a bigger raise. Versus down here in the small one versus button, right? The smaller raise and button open wider. So the button's range is going to be wider, small one's range is going to be more condensed, okay? And so because the small one's range is going to be more condensed, they're going to be betting a lot more on this flop. So like here, they're betting over 90% of the time for the small blind. And if I pull up the other one, if I pull up this, I'll show you guys it quickly just so we can compare the two flops. 10-6-2. Betting only around 40, a little less than 40% of the time. So 90% versus 40%. So that's the difference in the relative ranges. But if you look at the EV of like a hand like aces, here with the big blind versus cutoff, you got 40 big blinds in EV versus here in the small versus the button, it's only around, it's around 39. 39 versus 41.
The difference is 1 big.
Yeah, let me put them side by side like this. There you go, tens. Sixes we don't have. I mean, definitely the EV of tens is higher in the big blind. There's aces a little bit higher.
Is that not because the pot's just bigger?
I like this.
Well, the pot is a little bit bigger. But it's more got to do with like how dense that hand is in your range, whether you want to protect it.
Oh yeah, that's true.
So like here it's really high because you've got a lot of junk that needs to be protected, so you can just check and your opponent's going to be betting into you a lot. Here they're betting like 60% of the time, which kind of violates the 50% rule, but the violation of the 50% rule is like 50% rule isn't super strong on the flop. And so you're going to see this happen, and it's mainly because like the difference is you can either bet 75% or you can check and have your opponent bet a quarter pot into you, right? Here, like if you check, right, you don't have as many give up, so they're going to be betting bigger, okay? So like against a quarter pot bet, you're folding around alpha, right? So alpha is 20%, so you fold alpha here in the small blind. But here in the big blind, because you're quite polar from pre-flop, if you check and your opponent bets quarter pot, you're folding 40%.
You hold all the junk.
Yeah, you fold your junk from pre-flop. So some of that junk hits certain flops, all right, and some of it doesn't. And when it doesn't hit, right, you usually just check and give up, and it causes your opponent to be forced to bet into you at a fairly high frequency. And if they don't bet into you, you're just going to realize your equity with like your ace X. And that's where that little bit of EV comes from, right? This ace 5 or whatever has roughly 1 big blind in EV still, because of when it goes check you make an ace or whatever other back doors you've got. It's not necessarily the case here in the small blind. Like here you got ace 5 of hearts 1.32. I guess you could consider that the same. Like check. Check's a bit more here, right? Because they're betting a bigger size. And they're betting a bigger size because the range here is less polar, right? Here, when we look back at this one, the big one versus cutoff, like the range is so polar from pre-flop, right? Even if you construct a checking range, right, the range is still going to be fairly polar. So like they're forced to bet small. But here in the small blind, right, you got a fairly condensed range from pre-flop. So when you check it, your range is going to be fairly condensed as well. So your opponent will want to be betting a bit bigger to try and get value out of that condensed range. So there's the raising frequency against this. I mean, it's going to be roughly the same. I mean, here's 10% raises versus here, big one versus cutoff, it's like 25% raises. Okay, so like you check raising way more from big blind versus cutoff than the small blind versus button, and like that's just this flop, but it would be roughly the same on a bunch of different flops. And I'll probably do some more quizzes that are similar to this where we can compare big blind versus cutoff and small blind versus button in a 3-bet pot on different flops. If that's how you guys if you guys are interested in another quiz like this where we look at one flop in depth between the two different spots, big one versus cutoff and small and button.
Yeah, I actually really like the format because it makes you appreciate, because it just generally, like when you can focus on like one flop and like understanding how it's played, you can much more easily generalize that to other flops, right?
It's also dangerous though.
No, but like Or how do you think it's dangerous?
Well, like, I think a lot of things are sometimes like quirks of ranges, or like sometimes you paint like it's kind of generalized but statement, but like you paint a brush across a lot of different flops and you think you have a heuristic or some kind of thing, and then you just go and you look at these things and it's just you could just be wrong.
Well, I like the way that it actually shows the subtleties between the range
I
versus
do.
between the small blind three betting range, which is linear, and the big blind, which is polarized. So it really kind of shows the difference between spots and the different types of distribution equity between the three bet ranges.
I get a lot of value out of the quizzes. I always get to like eurekas and shit.
Oh, this was amazing.
Yeah, this one was really well done. Yeah.
This was like gold.
Yeah, really. Like I think it did explain a lot of weird fundamentals. Like I had a lot of eurekas. Yeah, for sure. Really
Thank
good
you,
one.
Tom.
Yeah, no worries. Talk to you guys later. I've got to push back the other one, the book tutorial one. I decided to do this instead.
Yeah, I think this is probably a better idea.
Well, I've got to do the book tutorial one at some stage.
Yeah. Anyways, I'm noticing that I've been phased out for the last 15-20 minutes. So.
Yeah, this was long. But in case, just to mention, the Sims. These Sims are now on the early access on the website. I just downloaded all these Sims this morning, so I'm looking forward to looking at the video and going through them again with the Sims. But they are there in the early access folder.
Yeah, all the Sims will be in early access. There's these ones I think are all available for early access right now, and these are all full Sims. So like you can, if you wanted to, how do you play against it again? You can do this.
Yeah.
And then you just play against it or something.
You got to sit down first.
Yeah. So like you can just go and play against a solution. So if you want to get really good at three bet pots, you just open one of them and just play and play and play. So yeah, what do I do against this 10th pot bet? Approaching the call.
Probably.
Right?
Yeah.
Anyway, so yeah, these are all full solutions, so you'll be able to play against it. Even the single raise pot one, small one versus big one, single raise pot. It's all full solution, so like you can download the entire thing and play against it.
The thing with the play against the solution is that, there's because the way it's mixed. A lot of answers can be.
You're so right. You're just always right. Yeah.
A lot of answers can be right, but I like to be able to be tested more on like the frequencies. Like that like the simple post flop. You can kind of estimate. You can give yourself a tolerance and look at the actual. Are you betting too much or checking too much or raising?
Well, you can use RNG, man.
Yeah.
Well,
but see, the
using this velocity suboptimal players, like say for example we raised. Was raising a thing? Okay, I didn't even know that. Just rip it now. Then you lose EV, right? So suboptimal, like actual profit, and then lost due to suboptimal play 9.35. Did we win that one? I don't know what happened. So it'll say how much you've lost in terms of EV, even if like you're always right. You call here, and like you call here, and like it just checks. Bet quarter pot again, so like say we just rip it now. Right, you've lost EV doing that. So then yeah, you lose another 0.32 and whatever. Right.
It wasn't horrible though.
And then it'll just say how much you've lost. You're not playing perfectly, and so you're gonna rack up a whole bunch of small mistakes. The thing is with this play as a solution is that it's going to put you in spots that you've never seen before. Like in
That's
this
gross.
one with the ace queen, right? Here, like it bet a tenth of the pot 3 times in a row.
Mhm.
Like I'm sure it's going to be correct to raise on either street on any of these 3 streets, but like
You're going to lose less or more EV with something? Is that what you're getting at? Like it's okay to raise or call, so you'd be correct, but maybe raising or calling in different parts would lower the suboptimal loss? Or
So you're trying to minimize your suboptimal play, right? All the time.
Yeah, you're trying to get this number here as low as you can. I mean, it's always going to go up, but like, I guess if you divided that by your session history. Training mode, what does this mean? Social solution, no hints. It's going to play no hints, show hand histories, fastest speed, normal speed, fastest. Yeah, I mean you can play against it, and the thing is it'll put you in spots. I mean like it plays. It's gonna play perfectly because you're playing against the solver literally, but it's gonna put you in lines that probably you've never seen before.
oh boy,
Just rips it into
got a
us.
call, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Optimal.
like
That was really good.
That yeah, I don't know. Like when it probably like it's probably a good thing to like help you train up a bit of intuition. So yeah, I mean, definitely give it a try. I mean, there's there's literally
It looks-
like, how big is this folder?
Oh, it's many gigabytes.
It's 31
That's
gigabytes
huge.
right there. So I mean, there's 31 gigabytes of solutions to play against. So like, you're never going to run out of anything.
What about the fact that in the top you can see what it kind of prefers? Like I've always kind of bothered me that I could kind of see that it 45% bets 13.25 and checks half.
All right. So what do you think it does with ace nine?
Yeah, I guess the general frequency when you think of hand class, I guess it's mixed within that, right? So I would say, can I see the board? I would say this was a 3-bet pot and we called, right? We're going to check.
You're gonna check back,
And
yeah.
more. Yeah.
You're gonna bet this. Well, I mean, maybe you can check back. Oh no, wrong one, right?
Yeah, you bet half pot.
Wrong size. Is it a bet half pot or is it a bet quarter pot? What
You,
size is it a bet?
you bet quarter. You're supposed to bet half.
Oh, it's a bet half.
What happened? Were you okay with
Uh,
calling or checking or betting? Was that either of them fine?
I think they were both okay.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things like where you gotta like know a little bit about the preflop ranges, and ace 10-5 is actually really bad for the big blind here. It's one of those it's one of those
okay.
quirks, like you can't really make perfect preflop ranges. There's always going to be 1 or 2 flops that's just really bad for you compared to your opponent. So ace 10-5 is one of them. For the abstract play here. Well, it's like if you just rip it, you can see how poorly you play there, right? And here you can see that like you've got a less than 0.1 BB
Yeah,
mistake
that's
by betting quarter pot.
the same to me. That's the same to me.
Anyway,
For sure.
what's going on here? Yeah, I don't know what happened. Okay, so yeah, you can play against it. See how you go. And there's a lot of different ones, so like you can just load them up. Play against one after the other. After you're bored playing against one, you can load the next one and then play against it instead. Or if you've got a specific board type that you're struggling with, right? Just play that particular board type. So say for example you're not sure about monotone boards, and you're not interested in going through the sims yourself, or maybe you are, but like you don't really know what kind of lines you want to take, what lines you want to look at. A good way to find out what mistakes you're making is to just play a bunch of hands. Let's close this. Is just play a bunch of hands and then make those mistakes yourself. So right, you just go here, playing as a solution, and then you sit down, and then deals hands.
It's a good way to translate it to the table, right? Like, it's so valuable because you look at all this stuff, but how do you test your knowledge? Stuff like this, or do you sit there and plot it in something like yourself, like your bluffs and everything? Like, it's hard to do. I like this kind of stuff.
I mean,
I think there's a lot of value in it.
All right, and you can see how you're suboptimal. Right, you can see what mistakes you're making by just playing against a solution. How do I pause this?
what are you trying to do?
Trying to like change this. Oh no, stand up. That's the one. Hero and villain switch. That's probably the way to do it. Like cool, and then like cool, and then like check. And then you swap positions, right? And then you can just play and play and play, and you see how good your intuition is, and then like you can go and click on the hand and see where you made the mistake, right? You can just
Yeah, it's so marginal though when you, but yeah.
You can have a look at what it's like.
Sometimes I make massive blunders in those, so.
Yeah, well,
Massive.
that's it's better to make the blunder here, and then you can go and look and see what's going on. Check. What's the river? Is it gonna load?
Not responding. It happens. Oh, it hit. Your RAM went up 4 gigs there, actually.
Did it?
It was very strange. Yeah.
Suboptimal by 0.02. What was the wrong line? Okay, and you need to go through it and see. If you go to the end, what is this next step? And then what did I do? Raise and you call it right. What should I have done? I should have jammed, right? Is that raising small? What did I do? Raise small? So ripped it. So you can see the mistake there, and you got the EV difference between the two hands. What did I just did like a min raise, and so I lost 1/10 of the blind. Right? And so you can go and see what mistakes you're making. You just play a bunch of hands, and then you end up with all the mistakes right here on the right hand side. You can sort by. That's a weird thing to sort by. Session filters. Don't know what that means. All right, and you just click on the hand you made a mistake, and then see what's going on.
Yeah.
And then that way you've got sort of targeted study to the mistakes that you're making.
Yeah, it seems like if you were to do some stuff, like do some of that after, reinforce it, for sure. I think
Anyway,
people. I need to do more.
all of that is in the early access. Oh yeah. Okay, great. Any other questions?
No.
No, that was great, Thomas, and thanks for the Sims.
Yeah, no worries. I'll upload this recording now.
Excellent. Have a great day, Thomas.
Goodbye. Bye bye.
Yeah. Bye, everyone.